And we are live. Welcome everybody. This is No Mutants Allowed, round 6, and coincidentally, it matches the full number of DLC that Bethesda's finally released for Fallout 4. So you know what that means. It's time for our final opinions on this game, and also on the newest DLC that just came out, Nuka World. Yay!
Yay!
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Fuck me and
Okay.
cook me.
Oh yes, one of the I guess you could call it Bethesda's most honest DLC when it comes to Fallout 4 in this case. I have heard some rumors floating around, mostly from my old roommates, that it is not going to be the last DLC, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it for 1 minute. Not after they made the point of raising the season pass by 66%, barely 6 months ago, and now come to find out that of the $70 of content that we're getting for this game, we have only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, we have maybe 3, no, make that 2.5 story DLCs. Automatron is kind of half story DLC. And then we get a bunch of junk that's all settlement building junk that could just as easily be brought in with a couple of mods, and thus we find out why the Gek never came out when it did. Why it took so long
with
to come out.
How many
additional
hours
patches,
in total?
3 patches.
How many hours in total do all the mods represent if you were to play them, with the exception of the shitty workshop ones?
Well, if you were going to speedrun the whole thing, I would, if I'm being completely honest, I'm guessing about 40 hours of content spread between Automatron, Far Harbor, and Nuka World. And that's,
I'd say
and
20.
that's going as fast as you possibly can.
20 sounds more reasonable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
20
I did-
sounds a little bit more reasonable.
I did Far Harbor about
I
12,
think it's
so...
closer to 30 hours, actually. If you
Yeah,
spend time with settlements, of course.
And of
No,
course,
without that.
Nuka World brings in the brilliant concept of, hey, you built all these settlements over the last 30, 50, 100 so hours. Now you get the option to destroy them, if to your heart's content.
Brilliant.
That is brilliant, actually. I had an amazing amount of fun paying Preston Garvey back for all those damn kidnappings and so on. These worthless people can't defend for themselves against.
No, I just love the. Oh God, no! I just love that Bethesda was like, "Oh, you put so much hard work into your DLC and spent all this money on our crappy workshop DLC to add more to your settlements. Well, now you can destroy it all." It's like, are
Yep.
you kidding me?
Yeah,
Destroy and rebuild, don't remember.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that they would bring this option in so late. And the funny thing is, there was a particular YouTuber I've been watching for quite a while. He goes by the name Joseph Anderson. If you search his channel, he actually did a Fallout 4 analysis, and he mentions way back when, before any of the DLC was out, that he had a suspicion that being a raider might end up being DLC, and lo and behold, he was right.
Oh yeah.
In a pretty contrived and shitty way, to be honest.
Oh, we're gonna get to that.
Oh, there's many options in being a raider that I think everyone just pretty much ignored. But
Only 2.
it's been a great experience to finally get the chance to be an honest-to-God raider in the Commonwealth, because that's probably my favorite part of Fallout 4, because I was underwhelmed with the rest of the games.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
It
You
makes
can't
so...
be in the.
Hold on, I'm hearing fuzzing in the background from MMA Lurker.
Yeah, that's part of the
Spooky.
reason why he keeps muting his microphone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's something on his side. I don't quite know what the issue is.
Oh
Anyways,
no. Oh, sorry. Oh no, we're gonna get to how stupid it is to be a raider in Fallout 4 with their established character in a minute as well.
I was just gonna say that pretty much it's pretty stupid that you have to pay them more money and a DLC to get experience that probably should have been in the base game and better.
That we'll agree with. You should have totally had the option of joining the Raiders at Concord.
And most
better.
of the Raider
You
factions aren't
could-
even interesting.
They're not.
Even with Nuka World,
I gotta say,
I
the
love the
first
Raider
person I
faction.
talked to-
You people
Oh
are
God,
awful.
the Raider factions are. Oh God.
3
I
of
personally
them.
would love to take
Yeah,
the
that's-
operators everywhere. They should rule the Commonwealth.
You know, the first person that I seen that you talked to, it looked like somebody ripped right out of Skyrim and slapped some clothes on him.
Oh boy. Hey, NMA, there's something wrong with your microphone. Every single time you do push to talk, you're getting some pretty bad static. Something going on?
Todd Howard got to him.
Something did. This is I
We're in
don't know.
great danger.
maybe this particular podcast is just cursed. Every single time we come on here, somebody's got some technical issues somewhere.
What
Weird.
about now?
It's the curse of
Yeah,
No
there
Mutants
we
go.
Allowed.
What if there
It's
was
the
a place
Fallout
with all the
curse.
zip of Nuka Cola? We could do a podcast there.
Who
So-
knows? I will say
So,
this.
I'm more of a Sunset Sarsaparilla kind of person, you know?
Will we
Thank
talk
you.
about the commercial? Because I got to say that Nuka World has some of the best trailers in terms of sheer silly fun.
Oh,
Are you
Um,
talking about
I
the
would-
you're talking about the trailer for
ad-
Nuka World, right?
Oh yeah, and the safety one too, both of them.
I honestly never saw the safety one. I just saw the first one, said screw it, and never looked back.
yeah.
Could
I
I
don't
actually
really
saw
have to
any
add that
trailers for
last
Nuka
thing.
World. Could you actually recaption it?
Well, the safety one just basically is like Itchy and Scratchy with Bottle and Cappy, where they list all the various things you're not supposed to do at Nuka World, and that will get you horribly killed if you're a child. And
Oh, kind of like I was just gonna say, kind of like their trailers with the special shit.
yeah, basically going like that. There, Cappy just shrugs off everything, while Bottle is horribly maimed and lobotomized and so on by the various hazards that happen in Nuka World, like the fact all their arcades have live ammunition. Because fuck the war era.
Yeah, that's it's a really dangerous theme park when you get right down to it. And this is during pre-war days. It makes you wonder how exactly the place stayed open for as long as it did.
Well, Disneyland itself has an infamous history of horrible safety standards, which again makes the satire a little more biting the more you know about actual Disney and their and actual Coca-Cola history, because there are a lot of jokes, I'm sure, in this DLC which went right over the head of the casual gamer.
I don't think there was that much allegory. I mean, maybe there was, but I mean, I don't really think Nuka Cola served to be kind of like a poke fun at Disneyland or whatever. I just think it's just I just think Bethesda thought, you know what, let's just take Nuka World and just make some kind of DLC out of it, and then they added Raiders and said, yep, let's throw this all together.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty
it's
much.
not
No,
really
the
something
real
new.
thing was actually a lot simpler. The whole origin. Two guys just standing in the elevator and just 2+2 Raiders and Disneyland. That's it.
And then of course the three Raider factions start forming, where you have the operators who are specifically meant they're essentially the money guys, the kind of people that
They're
you see.
mercs.
Mercenaries, pretty much.
They're basically
you have-
trigger men with a different name. I'll be perfectly honest. Even
And
I
then you
admit that.
have the disciples. You have the disciples, who are the kind of people who, if you had gothic kids who grew up but never got over their love of gore and all sorts of nasty things, that would be them.
Oh God. Oh.
And then of course, my personal favorite, because there's no shortage of jokes that I can make about these guys, the Pack, who are essentially Fallout's version of furries. Thank you, Fallout 4. Thank you, Bethesda, for that.
You are just so hard on the Pack and the disciples too.
Well, the reason why I make such a joke about that is because I know quite a few furries, mostly through Acon, Anime Matsuri, and several other cons I've been to. They're not like this. They're not as crazy as these people are, and some of them are, but not all of them.
Well, they're the whole thing being with the whole totem animals and dressing as their animal, and the fact that you have this vicious werewolf, the apocalypse kind of religion that they're following, and the joke being that they love garish, bright colors like the kind you find in the theme park.
I suppose, but the bright colors thing, the only really allegory I can find for that is if you're talking about bulls, and that it's not really the color red that attracts them, as some people are led to believe. It's the movement of the flag when the bullfighter's out in the ring. That's what gets their attention.
Yeah, it's retarded.
So,
we've established the three power plays. How about we start getting on the tram ride into Nuka World? How much like Half-Life 1 and 2
We
this
should probably
plays
mention
like.
the traitors as well, because they are a faction, even if
They are not factions, they are just slaves.
They are.
Just a labor.
There's a
Yeah, should we
they're
get to
slaves,
my
but-
list?
Rise
Yeah, let's. And Ranger, I
shine,
think you were the
Mr.
one who
Survivor.
had. Hang on, I was getting some echo there for a second. Ranger, you said you had a list ready to go of things you wanted to go down.
Oh yeah.
All right. Then
You
that's
guys can. Sorry.
That's probably the most organized. That's probably going to be the most organized we'll get for the next hour or two. So why don't we start there with you?
All right. Hold on, I haven't slept in 24 hours, so.
I have
Really?
those too.
How did you not sleep for 24 hours? What happened?
Personal stuff.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not get into.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's something's keeping you running past that 24-hour mark, and I can probably pin my finger on what it is. But let's go ahead and start with your list.
It's caffeine
Let's
and
just
sugar.
start with the list.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. You guys are free to interrupt whenever after I say something. So, number
Okay.
one, the hubologists are back.
Yay!
Oh god.
Still
Yeah.
scratching my head at that.
One. So,
The Hubol. I felt so
The
bad.
Hubologist.
For them in all of the
It's
Fallout
it's
2
a
engines. I mean,
Yeah.
I totally wanted them to come back there. I was hoping Jason Bright was going to be a Hubologist, but no, they never
What?
brought it up.
what
could
are you
Jason-
talking about?
In Vegas, because he has the exact same plan as the Hubologist.
No,
Oh,
he
he
does
doesn't.
not.
He's the
He
Ghoul
wanted to-
Hubology branch.
No, he's not.
No, he wasn't. He was nowhere close to the Hubologist. Essentially, what Jason Bright believed in was there was a better life for ghoul kind on the moon, where there would be away from the bigotry of the wasteland. So by succeeding in sending the rockets off, you essentially sent them to the moon. Apparently, at least I think so, according to the slides that I do remember.
They go to space and then they come back.
Yeah, they go to space
Because
and
it
then
was
they
a
come
stupid
back.
idea, yeah.
It's a silly,
No,
it's
it
a silly
wasn't.
idea, but it is certainly not. It is not
But this is
Scientology
what- It's
related
a
at
working
all.
idea, at least.
Okay,
I
go
think
ahead,
Hubology
Owen.
is way cooler than Scientology. It's porn and technology and fighting against the really awful criminals of San Francisco.
The Hubologists were a fucking joke in Fallout 2.
And
They
they
were
tried
just
to
a
just
one-sided
scam people.
joke.
They
Yeah.
already ever tried to
They
scam
And they're an
Uh,
even
people.
funnier
even-
joke now in Nuka World.
No,
No,
they're
actually,
not.
in Nuka World, they're actually right. I mean, listen to them. Not only for some reason they also really know about hubs and spokes and wheels and stuff, because apparently it's not just a joke anymore, but a core concept. But in the end, you'll notice that they're actually right with their stuff going into space, because their leader gives you a gun that belonged to the original Hubbard clone dude, and it's an alien blaster. So apparently he actually has contact or had contact to aliens, and yeah, now they're actually right. Thank you very much.
I think given
Huh.
Graviton
Also,
they think is an actual spaceship, that they're not supposed to be right. I mean, even in the original Fallout, you had a small chance of getting a permanent boost to your intelligence if you joined. But here, they just fry your brain and take your caps.
Kind of reminds me of the Epsilon program in Grand Theft Auto 5. If you guys ever found that,
I
cult or
love
saw
that.
But that
quest.
one was
that should have been
really
the actual
clever.
plot of Grand Theft Auto 5.
It's a really
That was
clever part of
freaking funny.
GTA 5, actually.
Yes.
But then
Yeah.
again, the Hubologists, I imagine a lot of us didn't expect them to come back, mostly
Oh,
because
I
they
knew
are.
they would. I knew Bethesda wouldn't help themselves in trying to reference Fallout 1 or 2.
Because
again.
they're awesome.
No, they're
But
not
here's the thing.
awesome.
The Hubologists were a joke before everybody started making fun of Scientology.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fallout
Yeah,
2 was
they
ahead
were-
of its time.
Very much so.
Oh, yes, very much so.
And it does kind of like make it funny. They kept it
They're
around
still
LA area
pretty
of all
stupid.
places, or San Francisco.
Never stop making fun of Scientology, as long as it exists.
Well, Scientologists do
Yeah,
have
but
some
nobody
really
cares
weird
about
beliefs.
Scientology
It's kind of hard
anymore.
not to make fun of it.
Yeah, it's like beating a dead horse.
Well,
And that's why, well, like I said, I enjoyed sending them on the little graviton there, and getting my little alien blaster as a result. Oh, that's all I'm saying.
It feels like Bethesda's justification for trying to.
That's actually a war breaking here.
Yeah, it feels like Bethesda's justification for fucking Mothership Zeta.
yeah,
And adding and giving
Which
you
I also
more
love.
alien.
Why? Why?
Because it's fun from the beginning. It's 1950s sci-fi.
It's not.
can
it's
I-
not
can I
Fallout.
ask you-
Sci-fi, goddammit.
Can I
Yeah,
ask
I
you
think
It's a
so.
nice
something,
break
Phipps?
from wandering around the wasteland shooting things, and just in
There's
the.
a shooting gallery.
Phipps, can I ask you an honest question about Mothership Zeta? Just
Yes.
brief. What do you think about the implication that the Great War was caused by aliens who got access to nuclear launch codes?
I think that was a really silly addition, and that was probably my biggest criticism of the game after blowing up Canada.
Now, can I actually ask a question about Mothership Zeta?
If I had a one, what was that?
He's he wanted to know if he could ask you another question about the DLC.
Knock yourself out. I love talking about Mothership Zeta almost as much as Nuka World.
Do you actually think the Mothership Zeta was real and not some, I don't know, radiation dream of the Lone Wanderer?
My take on the subject is there's many ways you could take the quote-unquote Zetans, and they don't necessarily have to be either fake or actual aliens. With all the strange sci-fi stuff going around, we could find that they're just human mutants or something like, or maybe
They're not.
With a giant saucer and the Earth's exosphere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Sounds
not.
kind of stupid.
like
So
it's just, and maybe they're
Phillips,
just aliens there. I mean, I see.
You're headcanoning it.
Well, I'm
You're
saying
doing
that
doing what BioWare fanboys have been doing for Mass Effect 3. You are
Okay, well,
headcaning it.
if they are, let me rephrase. If they are just treated as just aliens and it's just a weird element of
They
the
are
Fallout,
treated as just aliens.
yes, then I have no problem with that either, because I don't mind all the Lovecraft references either, like Pickman's
Oh
model
god, the fucking
or
Lovecraft.
or the Dunwich buildings or all these things, or the fact
Did you-
that
did
you mind the serum with Cabot House and the ghoul kid in the fridge shed?
Oh,
Okay,
and the
two things.
And the magical alien city under the Mojave.
That's actually a direct
Area
reference to
one.
Lovecraft story, the Nameless City, which is under the Mojave.
Yeah,
Really?
and it's
Okay,
stupid.
but
Yeah.
let's just
But anyway,
say
I
that
think,
you don't mind any of this.
I wouldn't want it to see the Zetans in the main quest line, or like build the Necronomicon around for Fallout 5. But as side stories, they were very entertaining, and I didn't have a problem with them, and I thought they were a refreshing change from the main stuff.
But what
Don't you
story was
think
there to
that
be told? There was just shooting and then leaving in Mothership Zeta.
Well, on Mothership Zeta, the story was just a dungeon crawl, but it was in an interesting environment, and the characters played off that dungeon crawl really well.
Oh, you mean the stereotypical cowboy and the stereotypical samurai?
Those you talked to for like 3 seconds there. I'm referring to the little girl and your fellow soldier.
Oh, the annoying kid.
And slave.
I haven't got enough alcohol for this.
Just a quick note about Mothership Zeta.
Hit the bourbon.
Giddy up,
Okay,
Buttercup, man.
you say that you don't mind. You say that you don't mind Mothership Zeta at all as a side thing, but don't you think that its addition to the Fallout franchise, part of official canon and continuity, actually hurts the franchise itself because it's not treated as a reference or something from Wild Wasteland trait?
Well, that's the thing. I always get the Wild Wasteland trait when I play New Vegas, and I guess what I'm thinking is it's kind of like Old World Blues in that that is something very few people have a general problem with, but it is absolutely ridiculous as a serious subplot. But it's enjoyable, and I guess I can compartmentalize these elements while treating the main quest as seriously as I should. Do I think that the whole bit where aliens may have started the Great War was a break of canon and something that shouldn't have been there? That I will totally agree with. But as the rest of it, it was just a nice way of taking a break from the monotony of of exploring the same capital wasteland over and over again.
I actually hate that.
Maybe that wouldn't have been an issue provided you had good stories and interesting locations to explore rather than shooting a bunch of retards 24/7.
So I think,
like I said, I enjoyed
still,
it. I like 1950s sci-fi, and this was a direct homage to the whole kidnapping.
It's terrible. It's a terrible homage to it, and
that's because that honestly is the problem, because Mothership Zeta being part of the DLC package for Fallout 3, it's treated very much as a canon part of the Lone Wanderer's story. And that's a big reason why people didn't like it. If you were talking about it strictly as a side story, something you could write off as a fever dream, that'd be perfectly okay. But the thing is, when you're talking,
well, I just like because it's a terrible DLC.
Well, if it was a fever dream, then you couldn't walk away with your awesome alien blasters.
Oh God!
No, not at all. Here's the other thing. The other thing that drives people nuts. the other thing that drives people nuts is that you can actually go back into the mothership once you've cleared out the DLC, and that becomes another home for you.
Oh yeah.
So it's considered part of your character once the DLC is done.
Yeah, that's something I objected to because they block off most of the ship, and I was like, I totally want this to be my new home base. I wanted to just, but no, most of the level is blocked off, and you just have these little tiny bits you can make your micro fusion cells at. That's
the
just
fact
sad.
That the fact that DLC is first has new.
To expand
Flip
on
a
what
bitch.
Agent said, I think that Mothership Zeta suffers most because it doesn't belong in the Fallout franchise.
It
It's
does.
like it's like combining the Elder Scrolls with Fallout in the next Fallout installment.
It
It
is.
doesn't fit.
In New Vegas, it would
Like,
have
I
only
think
been
you have
some
available if you
echo
had
there,
Wild
Ranger.
Wasteland.
There's a reason. Sorry.
I think you have some echo there.
It was
Ranger.
actually Haas that was trying to jump in there. What were you trying to say?
No, it wasn't.
Which one did you mean? Anyways, I think Mothership Theta would have only been available in a game like New Vegas if you had the Wild Wasteland trade. That would actually be fun if you could do a DLC story only if you had the Wild Wasteland trade.
Yeah.
Well, I understand what everyone is saying there,
There's
and
a
I
reason-
understand how it breaks your immersion, which is the cardinal sin of these games. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong on that, though I do point out the fact it being DLC and not part of the main game, you can just not download it.
That's the
Now,
problem.
you could
It
you
is
could say
downloaded
that.
with the Game of the Year edition.
You
And
have
there's a
to
reason
you
why
have to get
this-
it from this point forward.
Yeah. And
Okay,
there's a
well,
reason,
point taken.
and there's a reason why Mothership Zeta is the most hated DLC for Fallout 3. Even
It has a child
Bethesda
in it?
fanboys hate. Even Bethesda fanboys hate it.
Well, not me.
Even Mr. Matty hated it.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Mr. Maddie's
anyway.
Mr. Maddie's one of those anomalies that nobody at NMA will ever figure out. At least I don't think.
Let's not talk
He's like
about.
He's like George Lucas. You can't figure him out.
Let's not talk about Mr. Mattis at all.
Well, we can
anyway.
I totally foresee
we'll
myself
just
being
restrict it to that one.
being,
We'll
uh,
restrict it to that one joke about him and
Okay.
move on.
Oh yeah.
We should probably talk about Fallout 4 again.
Oh yeah. Let's get back
Okay.
to the list.
And Nuka World.
What's your
let's-
second?
let's
I
continue.
The
have
train
plenty of
ride.
defenses for Nuka World. There's like 3 things I dislike about it.
Alright, so more on the list. Phobologist Quest is pretty much ripped off from Fallout 2. Next one, Nuka World founder is now a head in a jar, which is a reference to the Walt Disney urban myth, because Bethesda can't help themselves. And Nuka World founder, this is one that made me want to cry. Nuka World founder has the same voice as Joshua fucking Graham.
You've got to be kidding me.
That's
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not kidding you.
I
just
wanted to help
trolling.
him take over the park again.
Bethesda just trolled us.
Sarah
Who's this one?
Petrovita is one of my favorite characters. Why is she only in one quest?
I saw
he's
her.
fucking
I saw her
stupid.
during the playthrough that I was watching. I had a feeling she was going to show up, but then come to find out she's attached to the quest where you find this guy.
Oh
Like,
yeah, we'll get to
Jeez and
her.
Crow, seriously?
That's
She
the
needed
next
to
one
be
on
a
my
companion. I needed to
That's
put her in the
no,
quantum
she
power
doesn't.
armor. That's
No,
like
that's the next one on my list. Crazy Nuka Cola Lady from Fallout 3 is back and somehow walked all the way from the capital wasteland to the Commonwealth unarmed and is not enslaved or killed by the 3 evil psychopathic raider gangs.
Okay.
Because you are the raider now.
Is
They
she
think-
unarmed when she attacks you if you kill Walt Disney?
Oh god,
I don't think.
Only
she,
if you
I don't think she
agree
does.
to.
Does
I don't
she,
think
she-
does she attack you if you decide to kill? If you decide to kill this guy?
Oh yes. Well, if you don't, if you kill him after you take her bribe, so you don't kill him.
Oh, okay.
Now
So
about
essentially
these
backstabber.
3 raiders enslaving you. You are basically a new boss when you meet her, so they
but they haven't
they
really
might not
enslaved her
want to.
before then.
Well, there's plenty of traders
Because
moving
he
around
never
the
appears
world. That's
before
actually
them.
something they mention. Even if the fact that there are people that come to visit Nuka World to sell stuff to the raiders, and they go out even though they have to keep their guns handy.
So I have a question. What would motivate a trader to go to a place ruled by raiders?
Oh
Money?
yeah.
to
It's
make
the
a
same.
trade, of
There's
course.
there's a difference between the Raiders and the Legion. The Legion didn't enslave every goddamn wastelander that walked into their territory. So
Okay.
The
Traitors-
Raiders tend to do the opposite. They'll take anybody who they believe can expand their ranks, but at the same time, if you look at the Raiders in Nuka World, what kind of people do they come off as? One is opportunistic. That. One of them is a bunch of opportunistic mercenaries. The other one is just the guys who like blood, death, and gore, and red all over the place. And the third is just a bunch of I guess you could call them, actually Therians.
Yeah.
Let's just call them Therians.
They're a bunch of psychopathic furries. That's what
Okay,
they are.
I'd like to point out something, that the Great Khans and the Fiends are both raiders for all intents and purposes. The Great Khans being tribal raiders, but both of them do trade and just fine. And that's just how the business works there. I mean, someone has to sell
No,
the
there's
ammo.
a difference though. The locals and the NCR are hostile to the Great Khans. The Great Khans deal in chems to the Fiends, who are their number one buyers.
Mm-hmm. And you'll notice that when you walk into Vault 3, because that's the first thing that they'll ask you when you walk in the door. Is they'll start grilling you over whether or not you got the drug shipment.
So
Yeah,
Fiends
and
are
also-
not the only clients
Also,
Great Khans actually get.
And also, you would need to disguise yourself as a Great Khan as well. Otherwise, they would be suspicious of why you walked into Vault 3.
Yeah.
Well, in Nuka World, one of the first things you encounter after you finish taking over, with Gage's help, is a trader that is
that's
common.
sycophant.
We can talk about Gage there, but the point is, you meet Shank, and he's buying information from a trader about other traders and rivals in the caravan companies from one, and basically says, okay, go forth and trade, you've got protection.
So that explains it. Then again, I guess they got to get their supplies from somewhere.
They can't keep raiding forever, because since the entire Commonwealth is nothing filled with raiders, I mean, who's there to rob from?
Wait.
There are way
So
more settlements
the
to rob in
Raiders
Fallout 4 than
What, good
the Capital
neighbor?
Wasteland.
Like, good neighbor? Or...
Well, there's all these little tiny farms. I mean, they mention being raided all the time.
If they're being raided all the time, why haven't they left or had anyone to have hired guards? Like, why is there absolutely no pushback against the raiders at all in the Commonwealth? Why are they such a threat to the point where almost every settlement is near extinction?
That's why the Minutemen existed, but the Minutemen got their asses kicked just before the game.
Yeah.
This isn't just being Minutemen though. This is just protections and protecting your trade and your livestock.
Also, Sarcastic Good Guy made an awesome map of the ratio of settlers to raiders for both Fallout 4 and New Vegas.
Yes, I've seen it.
Have you seen it?
I have.
It's amazing.
There's the gameplay element there. I mean, obviously, the Diamond City is not populated by literally 50 people, and the raiders are obviously going to exist in an infinite number as long as, in order for there to be gameplay.
Would have been significant more, however, if they had a different engine.
There is that. Okay. I mean, if the graphics were up to Witcher 3 levels, yes, I admit the game world would be very different.
No, but it's not just the graphic; it's just an entire engine as differently. Like it's just a completely different engine.
That is
basically the game Brio is so old that it just cannot have over 50 NPCs in one cell without massive FPS drops.
I will agree with that. There, one of the big problems with Bethesda is the inferior.
It can have FPS drops even with 50.
Anyways, about the Raiders, it's just it's getting a sick and old an old already heard about story. Like in all the other Fallout games, like Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas, you didn't really it wasn't always just you came across a settlement and raiders here and there getting killed, or at least unless you didn't run to a counter in the cases of 1 and 2. But most of the time, the game put a priority on its own setting and its own world. And you kind of had an understanding about why things were. In Fallout 4, it's not really articulated well. Like, it just seems like everything is happening, but somehow everything manages to continue to survive.
Well, I think it's interesting enough with Fallout 4 that one of the things I've made it my opinion clear that I prefer Fallout 3 to Fallout 4 on just about every level, and New Vegas above Fallout 3. But with Fallout 4, I do think they went gave a little effort to humanizing the Raiders, and they certainly did a great deal more in Nuka World.
But
where
you
we-
didn't care. But you didn't care because all they were in the end was cannon fodder. Why?
But
I cared a
you
great
are
deal there. I
here
thought
in
it had
the,
really.
in the situation where everything Raider humanized moments are just passing just above your head. You just here to clean the mess like with every other situation in the game.
Well, that's actually where something that I wanted to bring up about Nuka World. There is, it was kind of poignant when I massacred a Raiders settlement, just like I've done hundreds of times before, and like with the Fiends in New Vegas, I just murdered them all in Vault 3. But with when then I read a terminal, I find out this particular Raider has a sister who's a hostage in the Corvega plant, and I just like, oh crap, what have I done? And
yeah,
you know,
but then again, those are made through terminals and holotapes. You don't interact with them like you do with the other
Yes.
factions in
and that's
like
and
New
that's why
Vegas.
Nuka World was good there, because you got a chance to get behind the mask, so to speak, and deal with the Raiders and what their philosophy is and
But
how
What-
are they feeling
What
about their
philosophy?
job.
Kill, loot, return.
kill things,
Well,
shit things up, and just be an overall nuisance and actually have nothing to provide.
Gage actually has a very nuanced story there, because I understood exactly how he got there if you bothered to get his affection up so you can listen to his story about how he became a raider, because Gage basically said he was one of those farmers that it was constantly getting raided, and then he later tried to be a caravan guard to protect people from raiders, and that just meant even more the caravans were more interested in paying off raiders rather than actually fighting them. So he just finally gave up because he didn't figure that anyone was willing to fight for what they wanted, and you either take or are taken.
Then why wouldn't the caravans pull together their money to hire a force like the Gunners to fucking kill all the raiders in the area that are causing a problem and prevent and cause an interesting dynamic where the player can either talk the Gunners and the raiders into peace and kill one side or the others, or like something along those lines, like traditional Fallout.
Yeah,
Because
but
Gunners,
how would you talk to the gunners?
I
Because
only
they're
love
also
peace
always
out
I
of
know,
it
that's what I
in
was
Nuka
saying.
World,
Like you
which is-
can't. That's what I was saying. You can't talk to the Gunners, which are supposed to be mercenaries.
Oh yeah,
You can talk to one
I
of them.
hate the Gunners. I think they have almost no personality whatsoever, and even
Neither
if they
do
are,
any of the raiders in Nuka World.
I will
No,
give-
that's not true. That's not true.
Most
It's
of-
just that they
most-
have only one defining character trait, the Raiders in Nuka World.
Whew.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing that you see a lot of every single time you walk into their territories. I mean, the
Hell,
disciples.
you see that a lot in Bethesda games. They only have one personality trait.
the
Yeah.
Disciples is kind of funny there, because I admit even by my standards they're kind of flat. They're the violent capital wasteland raiders, and about their only unique element is the fact they're like 80% women.
Huh. I never even noticed that.
They
Oh
could have
yeah,
done
that's
something really,
pretty
really
notable, but
I never
I don't know. The
noticed that.
disciples were just. I don't know. They kind of are like this sophisticated or semi-sophisticated psychopaths, but they're just boring. There's just no story to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, like
what I
Dixie's
wanted to
holotape
say.
is kind of hilarious to listen to, but they are one note, as they're just collections of how she and the disciples lure people to Nuka World to be enslaved.
Yeah, it's not even very funny. It's just, oh yeah, come on over here. We are
I mean,
Nuka World
she's
is
evil
totally
Anna
cool.
Quinn, basically with her southern accent that comes from nowhere, like Colonel Autumn.
I got more laughs out of Afro Blue when he took over for Ace Salieri and reviewed Linkara. There was one splash screen that he had with Linkara essentially saying, "Yeah, I know we just met. And I know this is kind of crazy, but your comics, hand them over, damn it." I've laughed harder at stuff from these guys than I have for anything that I've seen in Nuka World.
Oh, there's some really funny bits there I think I can talk about, but it's interesting enough that the main theme for me is the contrast between the fact that this is supposed to be a happy, wonderful place, but in addition to being it was all artificial even at its height, it's now inhabited by some of the worst people in the entire post-apocalyptic
They could have done
world.
something interesting with that, but Bethesda didn't.
I have
Well,
a point about every single interaction with the Raider factions. I think that despite the one-dimensional personalities, it doesn't matter. Nothing that Bethesda wrote for them matters because you don't interact with them aside from Radiant quests. that's the biggest problem with
Yeah.
Raider factions. You only get Radiant quests.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
that's
talk
what I
to
got
them,
from
but
my
there's
list
a
too.
pro-
actually a
Sorry.
step up from the actual Radiant quest from Fallout 3, the base game, though.
In a it can be.
You
It is a bit
still
of a
have
step,
at least 2 options to approach.
I suppose. But then again, if we're being completely honest, Radiant quests are still Radiant quests. They're the kind of things that the gaming industry was drooling all over back in 2011 when Skyrim made this sort of thing a novelty. But now that it's becoming such a bog standard way of giving you interaction with groups that probably have more interesting stories, but which the writers don't care to elaborate on because they can always just default to Radiant quests.
That's what
I
happened.
mean, it wasn't even actually new in Skyrim. I mean, Daggerfall did the same thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Skyrim was the worst
Not
offender
only
of that.
Daggerfall.
I mean,
There's a
Skyrim.
game
I mean,
that built around what you can call a Radiant quest, but did it leagues better than Daggerfall, not Skyrim.
Well,
Oh,
also,
it's even-
Daggerfall also had a bit of a leg up over the games that came afterwards because if you walked into another faction and you were already a high standing with another mage faction and you went to another mage faction, they would immediately bump you up to a higher rank because they would recognize your name and they wouldn't drop you on the basic stuff that they would give the new bloods to do because you were already a recognized name.
So just to
like
give
a-
a quick example of
I'm-
the problems with Radiant quests as the only quests, can you imagine Honest Hearts if it only had Radiant quests?
oh,
No,
that
I
That would
can't.
be
There's
that'd
something
be
even
I
worse
could-
actually with
And
this
that would
because
suck.
they're now actually slowly starting to become Radiant games. Like We Happy Few is the game that I'm really looking forward to there, but the entire game is procedurally generated.
In like
Yeah.
No Man's Sky.
Oh,
yes.
That's a
no
terrible
man's
train
refund.
Now,
Speaking
here's
of,
a-
That
speaking of
actually does frighten me. That things like Fallout Shelter, which seem fun there, but I'm terrified someone at Bethesda is going to be like, we should do more of this rather than actually a huge exploration RPG.
Well, they are. They're making a Hearthstone ripoff of Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls Legends.
Yeah,
That one wasn't bad at all.
but we shall see where they take it from there. It's going to be hard to top Hearthstone.
Although I
because-
have a counterexample how Radiant quest should
Wait, what's
be
going on
done
with
in
Hearthstone?
Skyrim
Oh,
rather than they
Bethesda,
done in Skyrim
Bethesda's
hang
making
on a second, guys.
by Bethesda.
What was that? What was that you just said, mercenary?
What's going on with Hearthstone?
Oh,
or
Bethesda's
whatever.
making a Hearthstone ripoff of Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls Legends.
But with
Look it
different
up.
cover.
I'm not surprised. I mean, at this point, Bethesda's starting to eclipse Electronic Arts when it comes to making bad design decisions. And even EA.
They
just
might even
recently-
surpass them eventually.
Oh,
yeah.
EA.
Well,
finds
EA
new depth
EA
to dig
recently
to
brought
every time.
they recently brought 3 of their games over to Good Old Games without DRM: the Saboteur,
Whoa.
Mirror's Edge, and Spore.
Wait, you
So-
mean EA?
Yes,
I'm hearing
EA.
that right.
Yes,
Okay.
they actually-
That's
they
different.
They put those 3 games on GOG with no DRM.
Holy
It's taken
shit,
them
that's
years.
incredible.
It's
Yeah,
a
so-
trap.
No, it's not. I've already
Oh, yeah.
downloaded I've already gotten the Saboteur and I've already gotten Spore. I can't believe I passed up Spore the first time, but then again, the DRM was the killer for me. That's why I,
I was
didn't
gonna,
get 'em.
if you didn't mind me saying real quick about Nuka World, I gotta say, when I was looking at somebody's playthrough, and the first guy that talks about his family, because boohoo, family problems, he looked like one of those Nords or whatever from Skyrim, like ripped straight from Skyrim with some Fallout
Oh,
clothing
yeah.
slapped right on him. I was sitting there like, hey, he looks
Harvey
like a
is
Nord
his
from
name.
Skyrim. Yeah, that guy looks like he came straight from Skyrim and put on some Fallout clothes.
I think that entire conversation suffers from something that Mass Effect 2 also suffered. If any of you have played that
Mass
game,
Effect, that didn't even
Yes.
feel like a Mass Effect game. It
No,
felt like
no,
Oh,
someone
you
did
mean
no,
that.
the
I want to-
overglorified hentai dating sim?
no,
It
no,
was
I'm,
like
I'm
somebody
going, I'm
hated-
going somewhere.
Oh,
with
That
don't
was
this.
just-
mock
Someone
romances in
hated
video
Mass
games.
Effect and made a Mass Effect 2 game. Like, yeah, I hated Mass Effect, so I made Mass Effect 2.
Oh, you mean
Uh,
the overglorified hentai dating sim in space?
Hey,
No,
that
yeah.
worked at least.
I
for
want-
what it was.
I want
You got
to.
some-
I want to
Everyone
talk
is
about
hard
that.
on romances. I do not get
Oh,
that.
actually,
You
let's
Is
wish
it
it
so
was a
badly
hentai
because
simulator.
that's what
hang
it
on a
seems
sec,
like
guys.
the game's based on.
Hang on a sec, guys. Let's let Anime get his words out real quick.
Okay, so that conversation at the start of Nuka World. There is a similar thing in Mass Effect 2 during Jack's recruitment mission. The warden guy keeps telling you to relinquish your weapons. But if you pay attention to all the dialogue options, you are not allowed to do that. Which is sort of foreshadowing, in a bad way, that this is going to be a double cross. And if I remember correctly, you cannot say no to the guy in Nuka World either, if I remember correctly.
No, you can't.
Hey, choices are a bad thing, and want to be a good thing about them.
You can try it, but that won't get you anywhere.
Oh, the problem is.
Basically the gist of it is, you can already know from an out of character perspective that this is going to be basically a double cross or something of the sort.
Yeah.
Well,
when it's that obvious, it undercuts the story that the game and the writers are trying to tell. And then when when you get an instance like that in a game like this, it makes you wonder, well, how much effort did they put in elsewhere?
I'd like to point out, though, that you're not actually supposed to fall for the trap. It's pretty easy, even by Fallout 4 standards, to see through his trick and confront him about it. I mean, you just offer him a stim pack or give a very easy speech check, and he comes out and says, like, listen, I'm being forced to do this, sorry.
He's still
What
lying to
actually
you.
a red speech check? What's actually a hard, quote-unquote, speech hack?
Well, there's not really speech anymore, is there? No skill.
It's just levels.
No,
it's just levels that you have to meet, and even then, it's a percentage chance that you're going to fail it or not.
Which is pretty stupid
But that
because
was
you can always like save and reload if you fuck up.
And you can save in the middle of the game, in the middle of the conversation check if you're not playing on survival mode, which is pretty much just built-in cheating mode right there.
Does Ranger have anything written on the gauntlet section?
Oh, yes.
She does, trust me.
So what's
Love
next?
that
What's next
gauntlet.
on the list?
Oh, next on the list? Oh, you guys are gonna love this. Ghouls are now zombies.
Yeah.
Oh
Literal
my god,
zombies.
really?
Yes.
Okay.
They finally realized it. Finally took it over.
I love the
this was
ghouls
like,
in Nuka
okay.
World.
No,
Oh, they-
ghouls, mercenary, you're gonna love this.
Are they still
Ghouls-
eating shit?
Yeah, ghouls now have a craving for flesh.
What?
Oh yeah, it's because we
God.
gotta go from zombie.
Feral ghouls do. None of the regular
Yes.
No,
ghouls.
feral ghouls just attack those who are supposed to be like.
Move skins.
Yeah, well,
They're
anything
supposed-
that's not
They've
them.
kind of gone feral. They're crazy.
Yeah,
They're not
they're
exactly
they
sane.
They have neurological brain damage. They can't tell
I
who's friend or foe anymore.
I
But
read
now they were
through-
just like, well, who gives a shit now? They're just zombies.
Yep,
Yeah.
they're
Well,
zombies.
just
Full-fledged
screw it.
zombies now.
Pretty much.
Cravings
I'm
for flesh and everything.
Well,
They
Just
even,
to
there's even a
clarify,
terminal that mentions it.
just to clarify,
The guy
that
And
who's
terminal
the
the
best
entry.
part
of
of
turning into a ghoul
zombies that
talks about his cravings for flesh and everything.
Just to clarify, that particular terminal entry is
according
written
to
by
Bethesda, you can actually be a zombie by radiation.
okay, the terminal entry. That guy who writes it is already a ghoul, but apparently during an engagement with some raiders or something, he snapped and suddenly decided to basically jump at a human and bite him, and basically going feral is now the equivalent of being a zombie.
Ugh.
Yeah,
again,
Well,
Yeah,
they were already kind of looking like zombies.
it's
so,
all ogre. It's all ogre. I mean, yeah.
It gets
Well,
even
yeah.
better. It gets even better when you encounter the guy in charge of the funhouse area.
Oh,
And you have-
we're gonna get to him in a minute.
No.
I
Oswald
won't-
is awesome. I don't
Oh,
know if
hang
you're
on.
smoking.
Hang
So
on a sec, guys.
does
I
anyone have
won't
anything
spoil-
else to add on?
I won't spoil anything. I won't spoil anything just yet. But if I had to put an allegory to this guy and the kind of things that he does, he reminds me of the Baron Samedi Vesson from Grimm Season 2, with the kind of things he creates and the kind of family that he keeps. Which,
Oh.
if you've never seen Grimm before, I won't spoil it, but you'll have to watch the final 2 episodes of Season 2 to really get what I'm going for. It's
Yeah.
a good end to season 2, but
I
it's
really
it's a
sympathize
close
with
parallel,
Oswald.
close as I can find.
So anyway,
He's
next on my sorry.
Go ahead, Ranger.
You know, it seems like from what I'm seeing from this gameplay, it's just all about killing. Killing,
It is.
killing, killing.
Yeah.
You walk
Yeah.
through you walk through like the beginning area, killing. You walk past the dude, killing. Oh, more people, kill. Continuing conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So next one on my list, the ghoul
Okay.
magician. The ghoul magician idea was ripped off from Fallout 2's Melchoir. Remember him?
Yeah, I pointed
Yeah,
that
but
out.
Yeah,
Fair
you're the one
doesn't
Yeah,
pointing
really
that
that out,
was
have
pretty
Jason.
stupid.
magic. It was just him throwing
was
animals
stupid.
into a vat.
I'd also like to point out before
Wait, what about
we
animals
go.
in a vat?
No, I mean, in Fallout 2, they just pull out some animals from his hat and throw in the vat.
Yeah, but
In Fallout 2, he was not a magician truly, but he was what we can call a Pokemon master.
yeah, pretty much.
And a bit of a mad scientist too.
Yeah. So
He was the master of Pokemon Go.
yeah.
Okay.
So
But the ghoul
Obsi-
magician is basically like a ghoul version of white mage or something. He could
Yeah.
heal people.
yeah. So
Summoner.
Black Isles has their super mutant magician. Bethesda has their ghoul magician.
Nice
Okay,
bit of
I think
symmetry
that's
there.
actually a comparison that's kind of push aside from the magician element, a little bit of reaching, just because they're stage
How is it
magicians.
reaching?
Well, because Oswald doesn't actually summon anything there, and aside from the fact he's a stage magician in a theme park,
But how can he be a magician if he's feral as hell?
he's not. That's the thing there. Oswald is completely intelligent. He's just looking after ferals. He doesn't commit cannibalism. He's actually one of the more compassionate characters in the game because he thinks the ferals can be cured.
Oh my god.
Although-
And that's just another thing I wanted to bring up about the
Compassionate
violence
people
thing.
in the game.
Nuka World has a lot of violence because it's a Bethesda game, and I'm not going to be denying that. But there actually is a lot of quests that can be resolved peacefully, and even the main quest can be done that with right up until power play.
Oh, you could just, just say fuck it and just only play for 20 minutes and then you're done because
Oh, yeah.
the money's worth.
yeah.
A very weird
destroy all
addition.
the Raider gangs in 20 minutes, and the DLC's pretty much over.
Really?
Yep.
Just
Well,
like
you
that?
can still,
At
there's
least
all the
it's
exploration you can still
The
do
DLC
there.
Well,
actually
they're
but-
never
probably all
ends
just
if
very
you go
generic, aren't
along
they?
with
So
Raiders.
really wouldn't matter.
Why
There's
would
a
you want to pay? Why would you want to pay $20 just for exploration? I'm not paying $20 for a walking simulator.
Yeah, that's fucking
There's
Yeah.
no
bullshit,
real
dude.
plot in Point
It
Blank.
reminds
That's
me
one the
of
popular
somebody
Bethesda
that
games.
was. There was somebody, I think it was on Reddit, that was sitting there, was arguing with somebody else. They were like, "Why would you buy this DLC if you knew what you were getting?" And then the other person was like, "Yeah, because it's bad to have choices and all. Maybe you don't want to
If
be
I
a
was-
raider."
If I wanted to spend $20 on a gigantic shooting gallery, you know what I would do? I would just put aside $20 and buy Serious Sam 1 and 2. At least there's barely any story to hold me back from pointing a gun or a cannon at things and blowing them to pieces.
Or just get the original Doom.
I have the original Doom. Hell, I still use Kyle's RPG mod as well as several other mods for it.
If
It's
you just
kept me
want to
entertained for
kill
years.
things without story, just get something like the original Doom.
Yeah,
you're
which,
fine.
which puts Bethesda out of business.
I
Like,
confess
what the
they could
fuck?
have improved the
Oh no, but my
quote
graphics
unquote
aren't
good
enough.
option on Nuka World by having you reclaim the park for the traders. But yeah, that is probably the story's biggest flaw there.
One
there's
thing
another
about
I'm
possible.
surprised
There's
that
another
I'm
there's
surprised
another
they didn't make it
option.
like I'm surprised they didn't make it like Dawn Guard, where they had the. I mean, even though at the end you still get forced into the one faction, but still, at least if it was somewhat like Dawn Guard, they could have started off like that, like two opposing factions and shit, then probably would have been different. But
I suppose, but honestly, there's one other way that you could have
better
taken
than
over the
being
park,
forced on
and
one side.
I
and
never-
being. It's better than
never saw
being
this
like.
stuff.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I never saw this. I never saw this option come into play because the kind of thing I like to do when you're talking about Bethesda games is I like to play either a sniper or an assassin. And the kind of assassin thing that I would love to do if they were willing to pull a little bit of the 2016 Hitman into this DLC, maybe find a way to assassinate the leaders of one of the groups and then blame it on one of the other ones.
You know,
and
that
have-
sounds
and have a turf
interesting.
war.
You definitely know that's.
I did
Bethesda
wonder
won't
why
have
they
that. That's
didn't do this
interesting.
as like a fistful of caps.
As
Just
like a
like-
what?
A fistful of caps, a fistful of dollars reference. You join the gangs with the intention of taking them down.
Oh, I see. I get you.
They could have
You
done
could
that,
betray-
but they didn't.
You can
No.
also just like
no, that
you
is
know.
again a flaw.
You could also join one and betray them to another.
Oh yeah.
Different options, but
I mean, you can actually do again these damn Radiant quests, which there's no reason they shouldn't be actual quests in the game where you can go assassinate other members of the gang for another gang and just collect the caps as long as you're doing it in secret.
if
Yeah,
it means
as long
a
as you don't
couple
get
of
caught.
actual handcrafted quests to like a whole bunch of endless
Yeah, but
pointless
that's like
soulless
work.
Radiant quests, I would actually prefer going with the handcrafted quest. Radiant
Oh, yeah.
quests are just a joke, and they're so gamey and dull. It's like they just replace 2 variables and you're done.
Oh
And
yeah.
the thing about Radiant quests is they're never going to be as memorable as the kind of hand drawn quest that we see.
Oh no, they're rememberable in the worst
Yeah.
possible way, though.
in the worst possible way. But
At
here's
least you can do.
I mean, I
Radiant
had
Quest
fun with some of the
interesting.
Radiant quests, but I don't really play those with the same repetitive logic that they seem to assume I would get out of them. Because if I want to just randomly shoot some guys for experience and caps, well, there's plenty of places on the map I can just go to that will respawn.
I mean, you'll get it along the way whenever you're doing quests and shit. I mean, you won't even realize it. It just kind of blends in with whatever you're doing. Unlike these quests that just make it the main point of the quest.
When you think
Yeah.
about it more,
The
maybe
biggest
it's a good
part of,
idea that Ron Perlman wasn't
disappointment
the
in
voice.
Fallout 4.
I mean, when I think of Radiant Quest, I think, I can't do it. It's
Well,
just
let's-
so tedious and dull. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it makes you happy that you have like something like
Exactly.
fast travel or whatever. So you can just fast travel there, get this soulless quest done, and then continue with the next.
I don't mind
That's
Radiant.
reminded me about the Thieves Guild when you wanted,
Oh.
like from Skyrim. If you wanted to complete, like everything on there, you had to go through. And the worst part about it is it was random. It didn't. There wasn't anything logical in the system. Like, oh, so you need to do that many of this. No, we'll do this one, even though clearly you've already, did all of these for this specific place.
I wouldn't mind Radiant quests if they're done the same way that the notice board for Skyrim was. That they're optional and that you can
Get
choose
cash
which
and
one you
stuff.
want.
You can
yeah,
pick
get
it. You
cash.
can pick which one you want.
I'd be
Pick which
fine
one-
with that, but
Yeah,
they're
it's
just
an awesome
replacing them
mod.
for. They're just
I know.
replacing them for
A quest, I
good
know.
quests and shit. It's
You
ridiculous.
cannot
Oh.
roleplay into.
Well, kids
Radiant
nowadays
Quest
don't
though.
care about those quests. Damn pesky getting away in my gameplay.
Oh, you could kind of say that, but having just played Deus Ex: Mankind Divided and gotten back from the second main mission that takes place from the second main mission where they send you off to take in Talus Rucker. There's one quest that comes in beforehand, which I'm really happy that Eidos Montreal decided to have such forward thinking with this. If you stumble across the sewer gambling den and manage to talk your way into getting the part that you need for the guy who fixes up your augmentations, if you manage to sweet talk the Georgian mobster into giving it to you, he is going to call on favors for you. One of which is actually inside Golem City while you're there, which is a traitor that you're going to bump into, and that's to kill him. Now, normally you could just sneak in and grab this part from him and not even bother talking to him. But it's nice to see that Eidos Montreal considered that quests that you get within different segments of the game will continue to affect you if you choose to pursue them certain ways as you continue on through the title. So, Eidos Montreal, if anybody from the company does actually listen to this podcast, a bit of a rarity. I really have to thank you guys for putting in the effort that you did for the quest structure in Mankind Divided, and I'm really hoping this new DLC continues that with Pritchard.
Yeah, but a lot
as
of people
much-
All they gotta do now is make sure, just shout out to, besides the shout out to them, make sure that the next game doesn't have microtransactions.
I would also like to
Maybe
say
I'll get
that
a hold of it.
for all the
I'm not
praise we're
getting that
heaping on Eidos Montreal, maybe the game would actually be longer than a few hours, because
Well,
that
it's
was
it's
that
longer
felt
than
like
a few. It's longer
Well-
than a few hours if you don't speed run it, like some folks have said. Even Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation, he made this mistake because he has to get through these games as quick as possible to get the videos done in time, and hence why you get that comment from him that this game is as insultingly short as a budget gob job, and he's
But it
wrong on
is.
that.
But the question is it a lot of that filler?
I
You
wouldn't
know.
think so,
I
because
I felt the game was did feel like a much shorter, and it felt like the third act was missing from the game, and I do think it
So
was.
a lot of the Phantom Pain.
yeah,
Oh
Well, it's not
yeah, that's just
really
about
short,
the
but it
level
feels
of
like
bad
it's
that's
short
going
a
on
game.
there. It's just like, okay, you stop this mid-level guy and from doing something bad, fine, and then the game's over.
Hey, you
Back
know they got to
to-
make money from sequels. Yachts don't
That's
buy
exactly what they
themselves.
did, because
or
there
if
actually
we're
is a. It's like Halo 2 and Halo 3 in a nutshell. They had the entire thing plotted out there, then they just chopped the back of the game off and said, okay, that's our third game.
Well, the way
Back-
we're gonna know for
Like
sure
Stop and
is
Go.
when all the DLC comes out, because we currently have one that brings back Frank Pritchard, which I'm happy to see him again. Although I'm still really sad that the guy who played David Seraph in Human Revolution, I don't know what exactly caused him to get kicked off the voice acting staff. I've heard rumors that it
I
was a
thought he
video
was
that
in
he
there.
made.
Wait, I thought. Wait, so he isn't the voice actor for David Seraph?
No, he's not. He's not the voice actor for David Seraph anymore. I can't remember what caused it, but if
there was a
if-
video he did make that did a parody, like with like the piss filter and everything. I can't remember. I've seen it on the RPG Codex. I had to look it up,
I
but
think
somebody
that was
posted
it.
a video with him on there, and it was like a parody or something like that.
Yeah, I
like
think it was,
augmented bugs or whatever. I'll have to look for it.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was Eidos Montreal caught wind of it, and they weren't big fans of it, and they figured it wasn't worth it keeping them around. And if that's the case, that's one of the
You
most
gotta be
petty
kidding
reasons
me.
to get rid of a voice actor.
That's ridiculous. I liked
back
him
to
as a
back
voice
to
actor,
Nuka
to be
World
honest.
for a bit. Back to Nuka
Back
World
to
for a
Yeah.
bit.
Quest for a
Yes,
bit.
please.
I want to say one more thing about Oswald and his ghoul friends. If you remember, right at the start when you eavesdrop him from a platform or whatever, he is talking to a feral ghoul, like he's actually communicating with something that I can only attribute to telepathy.
I didn't
Can I
think that was the case there. I thought he was essentially he's been training these feral ghouls essentially like dogs, and that he talks to them and he paints their faces and he humanizes them because he thinks they're like, if anyone has seen The Walking Dead season 2,
Yes,
the
I hated
character
that
of
season,
Herschel,
for the record.
yes. Well, to be fair, that season was just way too long, a stretched out of plot line. But the idea being that Oswald thinks the feral ghouls are just human beings that are diseased, not dead, and
Yeah,
he's
like,
trying to reach to the person inside, and the ghoul is just
As they
being a
turn his
feral
arms
ghoul
off.
that doesn't attack him because ghouls don't attack each other.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Yeah, that
uh,
seems insane. Somebody trying to tell somebody that's clearly not right in the head and completely deteriorating in mind as he's sitting there tearing somebody's arms off. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. We know
And
you
Yes,
you'd
do.
think,
but,
you'd think, being as old as this guy is, he'd realize that once ghouls go feral, that there's no way to fix them.
Hey,
don't have
it's a
to- you don't have
Bethesda
to-
game.
You don't have to be a doctor or a psychiatrist to realize this kind of stuff. It's pretty obvious.
Well, I mean,
from their behavior.
he's clearly in denial here, and he's got and he can pretty much raise them from the dead by giving them bursts of radiation. But
Which is
a
retarded,
sense,
we
yeah.
all know.
yeah, well, and just another third thing there.
Harder
one
time
thing I
taking
did
a
like,
hit
Can
than
actually
Anakin
out-talk
Skywalker
him
from.
his
but I have
miserable
to give
searches
Oswald
by...
credit for one thing, because if you turn off his radiation sprays, he just turns them back on when you leave the room.
okay,
Which is a nice
weird.
little bit of emergent gameplay there, because it's like, oh, I'm going to go remove your secret weapon, and it's like, yeah, I could do that, or I'm just going to double back and turn it back on.
So
Okay.
that happens every time you turn it off or whatever.
Well, I don't know. I only turned it off once there, and I took note of it when Oswald contacted me. It's like, oh no, you've taken my best weapon, and now the raiders will come and kill us all. Or I could just switch it back on.
You know,
Can
it's
actually
a delay.
out-talk him from his
And then
Here's a nice
retaliate by
miserable searches.
destroying it.
Well, here's a nice touch that that should have gone into the game after he did that. If you'd just gone back and there had been either a strength or intelligence check to sabotage it, so he couldn't turn it back on again.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a really clever bit of role playing. And after he told you that, you realized what his plan was. You could just go back and sabotage it. That's the kind of thing the original Fallout would let us do.
Oh yeah. And there's other little things there, like that I did like that were kind of cutesy about things, because if you take the time to talk him out of his conversation, you might actually die of radiation poisoning because it's taking so long to speak with him about it. You have to really.
Yeah, that's a bit of
That
a
was
game.
pretty annoying. So.
That's a bit of
That's,
an
Wait,
that's bad.
what happens?
That's bad game design.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait,
even
what's
if
going on with that?
Essentially, what happens is if you're trying to talk to this guy in certain areas where the sprayers are on, or I guess close to him because he's a glowing one, the radiation will continue to affect you while you're talking to him because the game's mechanics don't pause during conversation. So it's very, very possible to just go and drop dead.
Wait, like during the conversation? Wow, that's
in the middle of conversation.
Really
it's possible to just end up just dropping dead.
Hey,
Well,
good one. At least you're discouraging people from actually wanting to get disposition out. Not that you'd actually get it out in this game. So.
And yeah, he is a glowing one. You can see it on his skin when you can see it on his skin the first time you see him. He's not feral.
Oh, I remember the glowing ones. They just from that
they
game.
would,
They just sit there puking out radiation floods out.
Yeah, like
I remember when
he's an intelligent, glowing one.
I remember.
Well, so was Jason.
First time encountering one of those glowing ones in Fallout 4, and they immediately just shot out like this radiation out of his hands and shit. Like, what the hell is this? Makes no sense.
I'll be right back.
That's what that is.
I was thinking Dragon Ball Z.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
don't
really
know.
hope they canonize the idea that people go feral because of radiation exposure, because that would
They
answer
already
a lot of
did.
questions.
I thought it gave him magical powers or whatever.
Well,
no, it's a way of putting some weird Elder Scrolls touch on the Fallout universe, one that doesn't belong, honestly.
Last thing that I have.
Has
if you
that
need a
touch
reason
gotten even
for,
worse
people
with
going
Nuka
feral,
World?
that's as good a reason as any. And besides, it also kind of adds a little bit of poignancy to Oswald and the fact that his sprayers, which protected everyone for so long, was also killing his friends.
Yeah. But then
again,
again,
you're not kidding about that train ride or whatever.
One last
That
thing.
is just like Fallout, or the Fallout one is just like Half-Life.
It's also identical to the train ride in Disney World, where the monorail where they give you the tour of the place before they actually drop you off.
Yeah. Although if we're being
Speaks more to
100%.
Half-Life to me. It's like they ripped it straight out of there, except like different.
Well,
wonder
if
if Half-Life
we're being
is
honest,
inspired
if we're
by
being honest, we could draw parallels to both because Half-Life used this in both the first and the second game, and Disney have used it for their theme park for years. So if they were borrowing ideas from Disney World, it's just as viable as them borrowing ideas from Half-Life. Although, let's see.
There is a bug that I do hate about this is because you can't see shit in the park if you go in at night.
Yeah, I noticed that on one of the playthroughs that I watched. When this person went in at night, I couldn't see a thing.
Yeah, I mean that's just like it. Speed up the fucking timer if you have to. You do not do this big glorious set piece and then not actually have to see it.
Well, it's
One
the same.
last thing that I have to say about this entire section. It really drives it home the fact that ghouls are zombies when you see them crawl out of the ground when they sort of activate as NPCs.
Yeah, that's
Didn't they do that in the base game, or was that in the DLCs?
In the
Can't
base
remember.
game.
Basically, in the base
That's in
game,
the base
every
game, yeah.
single
Base game.
enemy
And the
just jumps out of the ground now.
I hate.
I
running
just remember
ghouls.
how they just run at you like idiots, and you just
Yeah,
mow them
the
down.
whole
They just have
28
nothing
days
to
later
them.
thing. Yeah, I don't like that at all.
And like they'll sit. I remember the first time I encountered them in Fallout 4. They were like all crowded together, and they were, I guess, sitting there hunched over corpses or something, and then they just come running right at you. Like,
that's just straight from 28 Days Later. I write zombie fiction in addition to urban fantasy, and I used to even work for a company that primarily specialized in it. And one of the things that we always agreed upon was slow zombies are so much scarier than running ones. And even
I agree. With the running ones, they're just Like, you know, they're just an annoyance to me.
Oh yeah, because there's no creep factor, and slow moving zombies can sneak up on you. Here they're just like.
And plus, there you could sit there and anticipate, you know, like how long is it going to take for them to get to you, like if you're barricaded or something.
There's also
somewhere,
something
you know,
that
just...
if you get to be a certain hit point level there, and the running zombies, they just essentially become a slap fight, and it becomes comical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like with the slow zombies, it kind of reminds me like if you're trapped in a room with a zombie and you're a slow moving zombie and you're trying to get out, and you know your heart's racing and shit, and they're slowly closing in on you. You know, that's actually pretty scary. But if you're locked in a room with one of those ones that run at you, just, you know, drop kick them or something, you know.
Oh yeah, it's just,
Or just
I don't know. I
just
never
stand
feel
by.
really-
My
I never
personal
really
way
feel-
of getting rid of fast zombies, if they actually had a good physics engine in these games,
Trip
just
them.
stand right next to a wall, and the minute they get close, whip, just step right out of the way and let them smash their head on the wall.
oh
Make
yeah,
them
it's
stop.
like, I
That's
remember
pretty
that
cool.
even in Fallout 3, I was always terrified of going down into the underground tunnels with the zombies, even when I was high level, because the atmosphere made it so that the zombies kind of tickled that little funny bone in the back of my sorry, not funny bone, but tickle the back of my neck with a creep factor of that there's something in the dark with me. But with the fast moving zombies, I remember at one point playing Nuka World, like 5 of them were dogpiling me and slapping me for like 1 damage.
And it's just pointless.
And I'm like, okay, this is just fucking ridiculous. And I'm using a rifle, so it's difficult as hell to hit these things.
You know, the way that you were talking about afraid, what were you talking about afraid to go down, what was that?
Washington subway tunnels and Fallout 3. I mean,
You know,
they got repetitive, but they had some really creepy atmosphere the first few times I was doing it.
that's the way I felt was that one radiation vault in New Vegas. The one with all those
34.
like glowing ones and shit.
34.
Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
the one. Man, I went down in
Yeah.
there and I was sitting there just slowly going around the corners and shit,
Oh,
getting
that
ready.
part.
And you're just sitting there, and the moment you go around the corner, they just start going towards you, and they freak you out with their faces, man. It's just like, wow,
Oh yeah.
they're just creepy as shit. Like, damn.
Speaking of horror game design, I would like to talk about the Grandchester Mystery Mansion at some point. That was, I think, a missed opportunity that they kind of bungled. And if you want to say the worst side quest in Nuka World, I would definitely appoint that one versus Sierra and the Hubologist.
I have a worse candidate, but for now I think that Ranger Boo should continue with her list.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely got off topic for quite a
My
while here.
apologies.
Yeah.
I will try not to interrupt you for at least a few more of these things.
All right.
All right.
All right. Ghoulrillas. The fucking squirt gun. The good guy route is 30 minutes. If you play as a good guy and don't want to be evil, you spend $20 for a 30-minute quest. And then I wrote fuck you right by it. Season pass holders who don't want to play an evil raider have been swindled out of their money. Arcade shoot 'em up for majority of DLC quests. Oh, you guys are gonna love this. The U.S. Army sponsored a theme park in exchange for a missile launcher that launched Nuka Cola. Why?
Say that again. Say that again. I gotta hear that.
Said it again aloud.
The U.S. Army sponsored a theme park in exchange for a missile launcher that launched cola. Why?
There's
No
actually-
fucking
commies,
idea.
They give them all
Intent
these.
writing, right?
Yeah,
There's
these.
actually an answer to that.
Oh my god.
It's a
Oh.
bad answer, but it's
Oh.
an answer.
God.
Oh, Snake, you're gonna love this. Nuka Cola Quantum Exo-1 Power Armor.
Which
Yes,
you cannot
that
give to
one.
Sierra.
You've got to be
So
kidding
what?
me.
What?
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
What?
I
No,
like
so
to
the-
also
So the
quickly
Enclave
interject.
armor,
Exo
the
1
Enclave
power
armor, according to
built
Nuka World, is
after
actually
the war.
pre-war armor. What
Yep.
the hell?
No.
It's
Oh
pre-war
my
armor that
God.
was apparently either developed or given to Nuka World. So Walt Disney had the equivalent of the 100-year plus most advanced armor ever.
Oh,
Yes,
jeez. As if we needed more
This is
proof
terrible.
as if we needed more proof that Bethesda simply does not care about Fallout
But
beyond
wait,
what
if
it
I'm
can
hearing-
bring
Guys,
in
wait,
terms
wait,
of
wait.
fan devotion.
Wait,
and
wait,
sales.
By the way,
What? Hold on.
Bethesda doesn't care about their own lore. The Exo 1 was supposed to be built by military just a few years after the war, and now it's sitting in Nuka World.
Wait, I
I'm
don't
sure
get it.
that Fallout 5 will have a side quest that will reference that XO1 power armor display and call it an enclave time travel prototype device or something.
Oh yes, like I said, I've come up with some crazy theories for the armor, but there's no good excuse for that. They did, however, address the fact that there's Nuka Quantum based ammunition and development in the thing, because it turns out that Nuka Quantum was not being used by the military to create weapons. It's that the chemists that were working on the weapons at Nuka World as part of a secret project there, they leaked the information to Brad Burton, the creator of Nuka Cola, who decided to make a soft drink out of it.
You're some guy 37, aren't you?
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Oh my god.
It's
just
that
like
it's
What a
incredibly
twist.
ridiculous. I'm not defending that part there. I'm just saying that's Nuka Quantum is made of military runoff.
It's there's this guy on anime. He shows up sometimes, and
He's
basically has
amazing.
a completely ridiculous explanation for absolutely everything.
Oh yes.
And one of his explanation for Nuka World basically having top of the line military technology and everything is that, or was that Nuka Cola, being basically the biggest company in the world, also had access to the absolute best chemists in the world, because apparently the chemistry involved in improving nuclear weapons is the same as making a soda. The
That's
US
not
Army,
made up. That's actually in the game. I'm sorry to say.
it's
That's Project
that's
Cobalt's history.
Yeah,
That's
it's in the game, but it's ridiculously stupid.
It's stupid. It's really
It's
stupid.
stupid.
incredibly
It's
stupid,
fucking
even for a
dumb.
radioactive
Stop.
soft drink. Yes,
But
Project Cobalt is just something. I mean, I love Nuka weapons, I do, but you shouldn't have the military make them. Have Sierra make them, and have her cross the wasteland with her Nuka missile launcher.
Why?
What?
It's pretty
What?
dumb making
Wait,
a weapon out of Nuka.
Hold on. You want Sierra to make military grade weapons?
Why not?
Not
We
possible.
don't know anything about
Why
her
not,
past.
actually?
She could be like an ex-enclave scientist or something. There, explain.
No,
Maybe
she's
that's
not.
her power armor.
She's too young for that sort
Not
of
the
thing.
way you're putting it.
And not only that, she's
Her mother.
shit insane.
No, I'm sorry.
If a love of
that
Nuka Cola makes you insane, then I am definitely certifiable.
No, this is fucking ridiculous.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
say before
just
we
like
all
the
got
gorilla.
I was gonna say before we
The
all got
gorillas are
ensnared
stupid.
by
Yes,
Nuka
I don't
Cola.
understand why they.
So
I
the real
was just
gorilla's
going
not
to
Oh,
sensitive.
hang
say
on a
that.
sec. Hang on a sec, guys. Let's let TG go real quick.
Just posted in chat.
By the way,
by going
Sierra
back to
already
Fallout
made
4. I was
in
just
Fallout 3 made a
going
weapon
to say that
out
in
of
Fallout
Nuka
4,
Cola Quantum.
the endings of Fallout 4, okay? If you look at the endings of Fallout 4, and I just wanted to make this, since this is probably going to be our last discussion on Fallout 4, but if you look at Fallout 4 and you compare the endings to Arma 2, which was a military simulator released in 2009, if any of you played Arma 2, the endings for its main campaign are more diverse and have more choices and consequences than that of the base game of Fallout 4. That is all, and I linked it in chat. Let's look at it.
Okay, I just noticed that it's pretty nice. Pretty nice. Even my favorite old Sega and Overworks RPG, Skies of Arcadia, had ending slides. It only had one ending though. They were expecting a sequel. I would have loved for them to make a sequel, but then again, the guys behind Overworks have recently been absorbed into Sega, so I don't know if they'd even have the talent left over to make another game.
Oh yeah.
But how can you make a military sim and have more endings that are more unique to each other than a fucking RPG? How is that even possible?
It was even worse. I mean, like I said, I have no defense for Fallout 4's lack of ending slides. There's just no reason why they are absent, and the technology got overcome by modders very quickly there. And I can think of off the top of my head, just do slides for the quest you've completed when you finish the game.
Which is
I
a
have
handful
we'll get
of
to
five.
modders.
I have
We'll
to
get to
point out
modders soon.
something.
Trust me, we will.
Oh yeah.
I
Although,
want
when
to
it comes
point
to-
out.
You first, NMA. I'll go after you.
I want to point out that, as far as I remember, Bethesda has never done ending slides since Morrowind, including Morrowind. It hasn't. I don't remember any Bethesda game doing slides from Morrowind onwards.
Well, they
Because
did.
it's not
They did
epic.
some. They did some for Fallout 3. Let's not forget. The problem is they focused on 6 minute things that weren't really big issues in the Wasteland, and even then, they don't have anything specifically written out for the neutral ending. If you keep your karma between positive and negative 250, Ron Perlman doesn't give you anything special for the neutral ending. He just says the Wasteland was a cruel and unforgiving place.
Did he even mention Megaton?
He does. I think he does mention Megaton, but a lot of the stuff that he mentions, at least half of the things in the ending slides, are really minor things, like bringing the violin to that one lady, whether you did that quest or not. That's one of the ending slides. That's something most people will just forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, I like the video because someone, who was it that made the video about it? God damn it!
So
my list of crap.
I'm looking at the Fallout 4 discussion
Oh
thread,
yeah,
and
Acts
someone.
of Aeon, a preacher.
I'm looking at the Fallout 4 discussions, and someone made a thread called Bethesda versus Obsidian Entertainment, and then the guy says Obsidian makes RPG and Bethesda makes FPS games, and then pretty much shitting on Bethesda, and then someone said they're basically ensuring that Obsidian will never make another Fallout title again because he shit on Bethesda's shitty game.
Well, it wasn't the fact that Obsidian
to.
did something like that. It's the fact that people wanted Obsidian's work far more than Bethesda's, and this is after they spent like who knows how many millions acquiring the license out of maybe 5 to 10 companies who were fighting for it at the time. So that would definitely be a needle in the heart of someone's ego.
Can we just slowly return to Nuka World, please?
All the most helpful reviews of the week for Fallout 4 are all negative.
I'm not surprised.
Can I just point out, I just got a message on Facebook, and I just asked the canonicity of, I think it was Vault-Tec, and someone replied with, none of the games have been truly canon, to be fair. They've all been a varied take on history and story. I'm like, what the fuck?
Which one are you talking about? A non-canon, the Obsidian stuff, or Black Isle or Bethesda's?
I was asking about the canonicity, like how canon is Vault-Tec, the Vault-Tec DLC.
Oh, okay.
A bit of the side.
Okay. I see what you're getting at. The idea that Vault 88 was actually never finished.
Yeah, that's it.
That doesn't sound canon to me. That sounds like something that would come around from a lack of planning and development, but not something that would be supported as 210 years later you can continue to build the vault for one person with their own hands and continue to do the experiments that Vault-Tec intended for the residents of that vault, in your spare time anyway.
Yeah, after your family got pretty much killed because of Vault-Tec.
I gotta confess, building your own vault is something I've always wanted to do there, but the settlement system is so bugged, but even lore-wise, this is like the worst protagonist possible to actually want to have his own vault as a home.
Because the vaults are where he lost his family.
At all.
Yeah,
we are making a settlement, a vault-themed settlement.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. This is the kind
they
of
wanted
thing...
to make a Fallout Shelter 2 with this one, but ended up just another settlement needs our help.
Yeah. Well, also let's consider this. There's a reason why the GEC didn't come out until well after the Vault-Tec DLC was out, and that's because the
and
3 workshop DLCs.
And it was horrendous one.
They're things that modders could have made and saved people the $15 they would have spent on those DLC packs.
Oh, yeah.
And lo and behold, the whole thing didn't come out until after that 3rd workshop DLC.
It's not just so sleazy.
That's part of the reason why I think Nuka World has been so badly received there, because they had all of these settlement-based DLCs, which are just cash grabs and very, very easy things to churn out. Automaton was the best of them, and that really is not that difficult of a thing to have created. And they do all this, and all the pressure ends up on Nuka World, which ends up being the last DLC for a very with a full price season pass.
That's bull.
A full price season pass that went up by 66%.
Yeah,
and that was within less than 4 months of the game being released.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the kind of thing that other developers are going to look at and say, hey, if people are actually stupid enough to buy this, maybe we should try this sort of thing.
All Bethesda are.
So wait, Nuka World, how did the Bethesda feel about that?
Oh, it's
Oh,
at
they
a,
didn't
it's at
like
a
it
50.
at all.
It's at a 50% on
Seriously?
Steam.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
go on Steam.
Which is ridiculous.
No, it's
And
not
it's actually
ridiculous.
gone
Well,
up.
that's
It
just
was
my opinion.
47.
Well, the season pass for
Initially.
Fallout 4 on
Can
Steam
I
right
get a
now.
link to that?
Oh.
That 50%.
Okay, hold on.
If you
Well,
finish,
actually, just a clarification here. The Steam rating for the Fallout 4 season pass right now is about 33%. So it's in the
No,
mostly
really?
negative.
Rightfully so.
I regret buying the season pass, and I would have been satisfied with just.
Wasn't it 29% actually?
I really don't get the point of buying season pass.
Yeah, people
Me
who
either.
usually end up doing
You
that
don't
are
know- you
fucking
don't know what
You
you're
retarded.
don't know what
Yeah.
you're getting.
It means
Well-
it's pre-orders for DLC.
Pretty much, yeah. And also, those of you who are
Pretty
listening
much
to the
DLC, even developers don't
Here you go,
know
Snake.
what they include.
Thanks.
Oh, and also, those of you who are listening to the podcast right now, if you see any development company from this point forward release a season pass and then say we're going to raise the price, you can blame Bethesda for that. They're the ones who started this, and if any of this happens in the future, they're the ones who are going to be receiving
Nah,
the rightful
they'll
hate
do
for
some
it.
they'll
They
do some
deserve it.
mental they'll do some mental gymnastics, fucking deflecting like they did with the mod fiasco with Sony.
50%.
Oh, yeah. They're not going to be able
That's
to fight it this
incredible.
time.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, let's blame it on Sony. Sony's denying our mods. No, you promised your fan base during E3 of 2015 that all this shit would happen, like fucking Dean Hall. You came out and made these promises, not Sony or Microsoft. You fucks. You
pretty
came
much
out and made it.
should
And now that you
have
can't
it.
deliver- and
hold
now that you
on,
can't deliver.
You know, to
we'll
be
have
fair, wouldn't Sony have to agree to something like that too? You know,
Well, it's
'cause
not that
after
it's
all,
not that Sony
it's-
it's not that Sony has to agree with something. The reason why the mods were turned down is because Sony puts all of their files as a proprietary format. So in order for mod makers to make mods compatible with PlayStation 4, they have to make them into PlayStation files, and that means releasing files that could potentially let people crack into the PlayStation 4.
We're
the
kind
fu-
of going off topic.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we'll
No,
hold that.
I thought we were saving that for last.
Oh yeah. Well,
Okay.
after
Yeah.
Ranger Boo's list, I got a couple of positives for Nuka World if people want to hear mine.
Anyway,
Sure.
Okay.
I want to say one more
That must
thing.
be a short list.
All right, Ranger, you first.
I wanted to say one more thing. And that is, I wonder what is Bethesda's obsession with making everything pre-war? It's like there's no advancements that was
It's a
made after
fetish.
the war. It is. It's like
There's a lot.
nope. Sorry,
There's
it's
a lot
like,
of
nope.
there's a lot of things in the game that are considered pre-war, like the T60 power armor, which never existed in Fallout 1, 2, Tactics
It's a
3, or New
Brotherhood
Vegas.
armor. It's
All of a sudden, that's pre-war.
Makes you
pretty much.
wonder.
The
I know.
XL1.
I'm just thinking. Sorry, I'm
the
just
XL
thinking to myself.
Sorry, Ranger. I keep interrupting you.
That's alright. I'm just thinking to myself, it's like nothing good ever came from the post-war. Everything that was advanced and all the technology and everything was from the pre-war. We have to remake the world to be like pre-war.
Well,
Was
it's
there
because
any post-war
it's because
content,
Bethesda lived.
actually?
It's because Bethesda lives in this really weird headcase world where the pre-war times were always the better times, where no advancement was ever made post-war.
I think
When that is-
Bethesda
when that is a
living
complete
the
lie.
radioactive dream.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
like
feels
but-
like it.
yeah, Bethesda just has this idealized version of the pre-war world when it's anything but. The pre-war world, from what I've seen and from what I've seen from Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas,
And
The
3, actually.
and even Fallout 3 as well.
So
From
where's
reading
the
from
idealization?
So
Except for
hold
maybe.
on. Reading from the news articles from Fallout 3, I get the sense that the pre-war world was similar to how the world was in the first Mad Max movie. And
You know, that's an interesting parallel. I never would have thought of that.
yeah, civilization. Well, Fallout is heavily inspired by Mad Max.
Yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, so the first Mad Max, civilization's on the brink of collapse. There's gangs roaming everywhere. Cops are trying to do what they can to maintain order, and
It's
the
like
world-
Cyberpunk.
yeah,
And there is a Cold War.
the world's on the brink of total war.
Unethical things are going on and morally questionable things are going on, but nope, in Fallout 4 everything is just some happy fucking bullshit, like everything's okay, and then all of a sudden shit
And
hits the
pretty
fan.
much America in a state of war.
And let's.
Anyone remember the new plague?
Yeah, the
Oh
new
yeah, I
plague
remember
in
that.
Denver.
Remember in the beginning of Fallout 1, the intro, how gas price skyrocketed to like over $1,000 a gallon?
Yeah,
Yes.
and you can actually see that if you stumble across certain parts in Fallout 1, you'll actually see how high the gas prices got.
Yeah,
mostly
but
because of the war in Anchorage and
so
everything else that was going on.
who the
at
fuck
time.
is gonna be happy? Like who's gonna be honestly be happy during these times? Everyone's gonna be fucking pissed.
Yeah, everybody's going to be
More
a little bit
upset.
on edge, and even more. This reminds me of something that I brought up in within the first 2 podcasts. Bethesda missed a key role-playing opportunity with Fallout 4 by making the intro as short as they did. Because when your wife asks you if you want to go to the park, there's something they could have done right here. They could have given
Actually,
you
go
4.
to the park.
Not just that. They could have given you 4 things that you could have done, like little things you could have done out of the house. It's like go to a grocery store, go to a bank, go to some
In
places
this
in the
pre-war
pre-war
section,
world
they
and
can
actually
actually
yeah,
they can actually make it clear why
and make it
they are
clear
so
why the
happy
world is
people
going to hell in a
here,
handbasket.
because-
They
Oh,
never
yeah.
did.
Yeah, that's what I talked about in the threads too.
It all
There's a
seemed
couple-
really
couple
calm and
points I
tame,
have,
though.
actually,
You know,
about that
perfectly
that's
fine. So I don't
Interesting.
see. It was as if nothing would even happen. It just randomly happened because Bethesda wanted it to.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Bethesda
turned that
was-
they turned that go to the park thing into a fucking sex joke. That's pretty much all. It
Oh
was.
yeah. Well, there's well,
That you have to either be forced to be a pregnant woman or there's
Yeah.
a. Well, I was
too
just
bad
gonna go.
Bethesda actually never did draw a line between a happy, idyllic upper class citizens in sanctuary hills and the rest of the world, which should be a shithole, pretty much.
Yeah. If nothing else, it's another showcase of why they never understood Fallout in the first place. Because the intro sequence, it's too idealized for
It's
what the
too
world
short.
actually.
We never
Yeah.
see other sides,
Okay.
even by a glance.
Yeah, it's too out of touch with what Fallout was written to be on October 23rd, 2077, the day the bombs fell.
I wrote about how Bethesda could have saved that intro, and that was they could have made it have your character be like someone who is privileged and that they live in this gated community. They talk about how they're thankful that they live in this gated community that's heavily armed and guarded, and that they don't have to worry about all the troubles from the outside world, which would have shown a disconnect from the rich and privileged to the average working Joe.
Yeah.
Kind of like in real life.
That's a private target
I
for
think there's a
early
couple
raiders.
of points I'd like to bring up if people don't mind me bringing that up. Oh, go ahead first.
Actually, when I actually meant Voltec represents, I was kind of shocked because I rather expected to see Alex and his droogs from Clockwork Orange or something like that.
Oh, the having your eyelids forced open and the eye drops placed in your eyes while watching mind-numbing programming. That would have been kind of neat, but let's not forget which movie Bethesda took most of their inspiration from, and you can actually find this in a note in Diamond City. Essentially Blade Runner was everything they pulled the subplots for Fallout
And so
4.
terribly done.
Exactly.
Well,
And you can find that out if you find a note that talks about a synth assassination at the Blade Runner noodle stand. And
Well,
no, I
it's
did not
actually
just
not
make that up.
terribly, it's just terribly not in place. The world of Fallout 4 should be more advanced and developed than it really is.
Yeah.
This is how I think it went down in actual development. Emil decided one night to sit down and watch Blade Runner. He watched it throughout all of its screen time, and he just finished the movie. He decided that the best course of action for writing Fallout 4 is making Blade Runner transition into a video game without actually understanding Blade Runner, like at all. And that's the story behind Fallout 4.
Actually,
because a lot of the subplots have to deal with synths, people that can
You know,
pass
to
for
be
humans
honest,
so
I
well
think
that
the more along the lines of, in my opinion, Emil was watching it and he got all excited. He's like, "Yeah, I totally want that in my game," but didn't know how to represent it. You know, like a little kid just getting excited.
You mean
He's
kind
like,
of like
"Oh, that's all cool. I want that in my game."
Oh, you mean kind of like how Casey Hudson and Mac the Hack Walters pretty much made the ending for Mass Effect 3 based on Deus Ex, and they had no idea what the fuck it was about.
Yes.
Oh, you mean like Deus Ex Human Revolution or the original one?
There's actually some more inspirations than just Blade Runner in Fallout 4 that were very obvious to me, but kind of clash because they have fundamental different starting points than just Blade Runner. For instance, the story of the sole survivor is almost identical to the classic Buck Rogers, where, of course, you have this man frozen for 300 years and he wakes up in this post-apocalyptic world. Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm surprised that Mr. House didn't, figure out how to make one of those cryo chambers.
Mr. House was busy actually doing important stuff. Like, come on.
I know, but everybody has cryo chambers everywhere, so.
Oh, you mean like being besties of a 500-plus-year-old vampire?
Well, Mr. House had a completely different way of preserving his lifespan versus cryostasis. What he had was essentially a sterilized chamber, and his body hooked up to machines, so that all he really needed was his brain. He didn't need his body so much. Part of the reason why when you see him, he looks like he's been dried out and left as a corpse in a glass case. Yeah. He looks like the kind of horror show you would see in a Lovecraft story.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The conclusion is that
he still looks like Howard Hughes in his final days too.
Yeah. The conclusion is that Mr. House did not have the privilege of having access to Mr. Cabot's amazing serum of eternal life,
or the cryo steamers.
Not only that, but
I do gotta admit, it does seem.
But he was already sitting over the.
But he could be awake at the same time.
Didn't have the entity to regenerate him.
I have the Fallout New Gus limited edition collector's edition game guide, and it's stated that Mr. House, part of the reason why he looks like that is because his pod ended up malfunctioning when the Great War happened, because he was so busy, because he was working overtime trying to prevent the missiles from attacking New Vegas because the chip didn't arrive in time.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, yeah, Mr. House is actually like asleep for like 100 years.
Yep.
That's why the New Vegas isn't like an empire that spans from coast to coast.
Yeah, he ended up having
started his business just a few years ago.
Yeah, that's why he's dressed up everyone as in their 1960s outfits and basically redoes their tribal culture the way Caesar did, except to classic Vegas.
Except he does it in a style that he remembers, which is the pre-war days in Vegas.
And he also doesn't crucify men, women, and children on a fucking cross like Christmas decorations.
Yeah. Anyway,
Nuka World does kill the king.
Alright, Nuka World. Actually, the one point I wanna bring
go for it,
is that you... Sorry, Ranger, if I just overwrite you, but you can't actually complete the game with help of raiders. You can't wipe out Minutemen. There's still a failsafe you still should use.
As in, there's no way to completely wipe out the Minutemen, you said? Are you still there, man?
Yeah, I mean, they're like every other respawning enemy. I mean, even after you wipe out the Brotherhood or the Institute, there will still be respawning Sins and Brotherhood vertebrates, so whatever. Nothing makes any difference in Fallout 4 anyway.
Yeah, that's...
I just say that completing a game with a Fuse faction Raiders would be really awesome.
You know, here's one thing that Bethesda also missed as a gameplay opportunity. That is, if the Raiders are a way that you can progress through the Wasteland, how come they never give you an option with enough progress with them to actually allow them to be your army, to break into the Institute, and you find out information about your son another way thanks to them?
Yeah, I was actually talking about...
Yeah, I said that 1,000 times.
Yeah, make them a full-size faction there.
Exactly. So, that would have justified the $20 price.
I think they actually planned that, but it all went to the cutting floor.
So I want to bring up the ending of Fallout 4 with Nuka World in mind. So you decide to work for the Nuka Raider factions. Okay. You basically end up destroying your own settlements that you raise with the help of the Minutemen or whatever. Okay.
I'd like to argue with that point, actually.
Well, okay. I know that there is an alternative route, but bear with me for a moment.
No, not the alternative route either.
So you you end up at the end of the game. The big choice: who do you want to finish the game with? You have the railroad, which most people don't want to finish the game with. Okay. You have the Institute.
I finished because the railroad quest was the most exciting and engaging.
You have the Institute, which let's say your character doesn't want to finish it with the Institute, and you have the Brotherhood, who I think you can become hostile. I've forgotten so much about Fallout 4, but anyway, so what justification would there be to finish the game with the Minutemen if you don't want to finish it with any other factions, and you can't do it with the Raiders?
Good question.
There is none.
The kind of thing this is something that Bethesda really missed with Fallout 4 is that there might have been 4 factions in the game, but the thing about New Vegas is New Vegas gave you an independent way to approach the end of the game, and that is if you thought none of the 3 options were for you, it would let you conquer Vegas yourself and hold back both Caesar's Legion and the NCR if you were skilled enough.
Here's how I see it, and that is Bethesda tried to copy New Vegas in this regard. You have the Institute, who are supposed to be kind of like the Legion. They're like this ominous villains or whatever, this organization that strikes fear into the people's hearts if you utter their name. But then you're supposed to learn that, oh, they're not so evil as they seem. There's, they commit necessary evils. Then you have...
Not really.
Yeah, not...
There was some... I think the Institute definitely suffers from someone who had a very clear idea of the Institute, and then he was rewritten by someone who had a very different one, and it became the jumbled mess. It happens in Hollywood all the time.
Yeah, and then you have the Railroad, who...
10-10 writing.
Then you have the Railroad,
Naive or something?
Then you have the Railroad, who basically pretty much want the start of race war. Then you have the Brotherhood of Steel, who are...
Who also want to start a race war.
Yeah, who also pretty much want to start a race war, but are also quasi-fascist and
neo-feudalist fascists.
Neo-feudalist fascists.
Quasi-legion.
And imperialistic and militaristic. And then you have the Minutemen, who are supposed to be pretty much the independent route. They're supposed to be like your faction that you made up. And Bethesda did a terrible job with all 4 of them.
And again, this brings us back to that Fallout 4 analysis video that I mentioned earlier in the podcast. Is that even though Preston Garvey gives you control over the Minutemen, if you haven't done enough Radiant quests for them, clearing out farms and helping people, if you bring the plans for the teleporter to him and say, "I found a way to find my son, can you help me?" He'll just turn to you and say, "It'll have to wait until we get the Minutemen back from the brink." So it's not really your faction. If you don't do enough for them, they won't help you progress the main quest.
Well, they don't got shit to their name at the beginning of the quest there, but I do agree that most of the factions are definitely underwritten. Though I would think that the Brotherhood is actually the best written of the factions and the most developed. It's just not a way that many.
Well, of course they are, because Bethesda fanboys love the Brotherhood of Steel. Because every 12-year-old wants to run around in power armor shooting shit like Billy Badass.
Yes, and I love shooting them. It's like they're even better villains to shoot in the Enclave, and at least in Fallout 4.
No villain could be more fun, and I hope Dr. Fallout can forgive me. No villain could be more fun to shoot at than the Legion.
They are. I imagine they are very easy and good to shoot there. I mean, me and Boone had a lot of fun just tracing down every single one in the Commonwealth. Sorry, the Mojave.
All I have to say is degenerates like you belong on the cross.
So, Phipps, you have a very interesting list of apparently positive things to say about Nuka World.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to read those off, or do you want me to?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm happy. Either way you want to go there. But yeah, I'm happy to go discuss each of them. But just to list them off there, the positives of Nuka World for me are the exploration, the opportunity to finally be a raider, peaceful options for being a raider and claiming the park, all of the Disneyland references, Oswald's entire quest, Sierra Petra Vita's quest, Cedo, Gage's backstory, the Grantchester Mystery Mansion, which oddly I complained about before, but has some really great points, and finally 10, the Humanized Raiders.
I'll admit that being evil is not really fleshed out in the first 2 games.
Actually, you can choose to be a raider in the second Fallout. It's kind of a hidden option. You really have to dig for it.
Yeah, you could be a slaver in the den.
Yeah, but it locks out a lot of content.
And also, let's not forget that helping Myron with his quest to make a jet, you consider that a very evil quest because of what it does to the.
I'm surprised you're actually missing the point there because I mean, like the entire second act of the game is New Reno, which is all about you becoming a gangster, which is a little classier than a raider, but not that fundamentally different.
In a sense, yeah, but honestly, I never saw it as that bad.
No, it's not even a raider. It's more like organized crime. You're basically like a hired thug.
You should fight other bad guys.
The point.
Actually, there aren't that many. Just there's those really raider types in Fallout 4 and Fallout 2 anymore. You have these. You have a few highwayman encounters, but other than that, at the time of Fallout 2. The whole world has already moved on a bit, and it's more civilized, so there just aren't that many raiders anymore.
Yeah, they talk about that.
But here's the thing: Fallout 2 never had a necessity to include raiders as a player's faction at all. The story just not fit in this.
Well, they talked about that. The NCR and the Brotherhood of Steel ended up driving out the Vipers and the Jackals.
Oh yeah.
But when you go. But in Fallout New Vegas, you go to the Frontier, which is not under any kind of organized law like in the NCR. So more opportunistic raider groups.
Yeah.
And even on the Frontier, most raiders have been dealt with, or they are found in very specific places, just barely making a living.
Actually, there is a bit of a backstory there off screen that raiders play a big important role in the fact the bishops are fostering raider attacks against Vault City as part of their plan to force them into being annexed.
They weren't raiders; they were more like mercs.
Well, they were mercs specifically, but they were pretending to be raiders.
Not raiders.
I think people forget what raiders actually meant in Fallout 1.
Which, go ahead, man.
Well, why are there raiders in Fallout 1? Like, the beginning. Well, they are there to raid because they are a group of people who cannot procure the means of living by themselves like in an agrarian society. Why do they raid? Well, they need food. Sometimes they need labor, so they also enslave people. And they have to keep doing this because they simply don't have either the societal capability or the tools necessary to settle down and create an actual town like Shady Sands. And
though there's definitely a point with the raiders in Fallout 1. They're a very brutally described group. I mean, you can technically join the cons, but your first act is to go kill all the leader's sex slaves. So they're just real assholes.
Well,
yes,
and remember the history of the cons. The cons were born out of I think wasn't it Vault 3?
Vault 15.
They were born.
Vault 15, the same vault as Sandy
Shady Sands. They could definitely have lived in the land of Shady Sands and enjoyed the prosperity of a vault-born group, but they chose to become savages, just like the ones in the Road Warrior, which they're homages to.
Yeah. Also, the Vipers were from Vault 15 as well. Like 3 groups descended from Vault 15, which was a multicultural vault. That was Shady Sands, which eventually became the NCR, the Vipers, and the Cons.
I can't believe I forgot that. I should know this kind of thing by now.
It's weird that in New Vegas, the Jackals I think are the ones that just show up as the raiders, kind of like from the Capital Wasteland, where they just attack. You never get any backstory, and you just kill them and move on.
Well, actually, there is a backstory, and that is that the NCR.
There is really that backstory.
Yeah.
So
the NCR it stated the NCR pretty much destroyed the Jackals. The Brotherhood of Steel in retaliation for the Vipers, I think, killing off one of their elders, destroyed the Vipers. So they're basically on the brink of extinction.
Oh yeah.
So why I brought that up? I think that by Fallout 2, there is a growing incentive not to be a raider and actually become a civilized person, because you have the NCR, you have towns like Reading, you have New Reno, sort of. There's
New Reno is so not shit.
But then again,
the point is that
let's
also
forget that. Oh, hang on a second. Is the one thing the one thing to consider here is that when you live under a society that has just been known for taking what it means to live for decades, possibly centuries, it's extremely hard to break out of that mindset. So if you have groups of raider gangs where little bits are breaking off and causing trouble throughout the wasteland, even with civilized societies like the NCR forming, they're still going to have issues with these people because that's the only way they know how to live. They've never seen alternate
That's why the
ways
new
to
cons
live.
exist. They recruit the poor, the unloved, and the people that have been driven out of Shady Sands by the new growing government and form them into the basis for the clan, even though most of the original cons were killed.
Yeah.
I was going to address that, but basically the idea is that you won't have as many new raider groups eventually. That's why by Fallout 2 it sort of drops down in number, and by New Vegas you only have bits and remnants on the frontier, because there have been so many factions that expand and enforce their own sets of law and rules, such as the Legion or NCR in various American regions.
Well, like the Vipers and the Jackals, the Powder Gangers, the independents aren't going to last very long versus the ones that have actually formed groups.
That's interesting perspective that was brought up, ironically, in Nuka World, where Gage says that the moniker of Raider is something that the more powerful groups start to discard, but still fundamentally have. And he makes a pretty good take that against the Brotherhood of Steel, pointing out that the only reason they're not considered Raiders is because they're too tough and too powerful for people to argue with as anything but a government.
Fair enough.
Can we get back more to my list?
Sure. Go ahead, Ranger.
Wait,
Go
weren't
ahead.
we supposed to read Fip? I mean, to let Phipps go through his positive
I think
list?
she has first dibs, and then we'll go on to mine, I guess.
I have like 2 more pages.
Go ahead, knock yourself
Go
out.
ahead.
All right.
No interruptions.
You're gonna hate this, Phipps.
I'm sure.
The 3 Raider groups amount to Evil Raider Group 1, Evil Raider Group 2, and Mercs. Next one. Lack of player agency. Must be an Evil Raider to complete quests and achievements. And everyone's gonna love this one. Being an evil character is locked behind a paywall. That's also on my favorite one. DLC's tone makes no sense in context of Fallout 4's story and forced role of good guy Messiah Daddy. Then I wrote,
Con!
This is why a voice protagonist is such a bad idea.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've got to get more to that. Next one. Both voice actors sound like absolute dumbasses when trying to sound evil. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, not even Jennifer Gale can save a bad character. But go ahead, continue, Ranger.
All right. I wrote this one in all caps. You are immediately made the leader of not 1, but 3 factions. Come on, Bethesda.
That's lazy even by their standards.
So we grew past this already.
It's sort of... They sort of attempt to
beat one enemy and just became a new leader.
Oh yeah, you kill the overboss and you're automatically made leader of all 3 factions, which is something that Yahtzee brought up with his Fallout 4 review.
I still love that video.
I love that.
Even though you're the overboss, you don't have any actual authority until you prove yourself by taking the rest of Nuka World.
Okay, so what I want to say, something similar to Phipps. Even though you're supposedly the boss, they try to write it so that you aren't the actual leader yet. But I want to bring this up, and it's sort of addressed in game, but I think in a weak way. You expect me to believe that no raider, absolutely none, actually wants to be the leader? Like, you aren't even challenged for the role?
Oh,
Like,
you get challenged after
Oh,
the end.
they
There,
have
there's a
a few
well,
ways.
yes, but I mean before, like the moment that there's an opening, like you are basically
Actually, I
alone in
believe
the arena.
operators
They're
actually
in a
want.
deadlock, from what I heard.
well, Mason wants to be the overboss, but both of the factions have joined together to say no.
Okay.
Yes, you
But,
basically
just
you can bring that dialogue out if you have a high speech check there. You ask like, so Mason, you don't actually want to be the overboss, and he basically says like, yo, I'd challenge you in a second if the other gangs would follow me, but they both have agreed to team up against the pack if I do.
oh, and just I don't think I can do this as well as Yahtzee does, so I'm just gonna for those of you who are wondering what Yahtzee said about this in his Fallout 4 review, I'm just gonna play it for you real quick. So sit back and enjoy a couple of minutes.
As an effort to force some investment into you, the various factions involved are rather alarmingly quick to trust. Wow, you did one mission for us because you happened to be passing and it was on the way to the pisser. You have demonstrated total dedication to our cause and we've decided to make you our king. This happens like 3 times, and the factions that don't go that far still aren't much better. Obviously, one mission isn't going to be enough to make you our king quite yet, so we'll just make you our most trusted warrior and hinge all our future plans around your continued success and assumed loyalty. Listen, you dipshits, I'm just trying to fill an XP bar here. Maybe some of the fault is mine, because I tried to avoid conversation options that might piss you off, and for that reason I seem to have accidentally taken a 1,000-year oath of allegiance.
That's essentially it.
Oh yeah,
that sums up everything about Bethesda's approach to you becoming the leaders of factions, especially in Fallout 4.
And Skyrim
Nuka World
was
too.
much worse. But Nuka World, at least you have
Skyrim was bad, but Fallout 4 was the worst.
I
Nuka
agree,
World
it
has
was
at
worse.
least a small benefit
me,
there
or-
because they talk about how you have to prove yourself to the gangs, you have to get their allegiances there, and even in
with
the game,
Radiant
everyone's
Quest.
incredulous.
Yeah, with
You have
Radiant
to kill
Quest,
a bunch of
the
gator
kind of
claws, so that's proving yourself, man. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
I
speaking
think
of
It seems
Yeah,
like
you're the
these guys
overboss, so
are
do our dirty
so
work
hard
for
to
us.
piss off, actually.
it's funny how the overboss does all the extermination work that should have been done to the under. Should
I
have
know,
been
it's
done
Yes,
kinda like,
that's what
it's kind of
You know
like
what?
being General of the Minutemen.
Yes,
It's doing all the peon work.
You are actually a general of the Minutemen.
Well, at least
Yeah,
you don't
um,
have to, you're not someone
Which
peon
is not
there,
a
that's what I
general
gotta
as
say.
we know, but just an errand boy.
I think
let's,
that Bethesda
of
should.
way of
I think that
thinking.
Bethesda should either take notes from Neverwinter Nights 2, or stop trying to make the protagonist the leader of any faction. Because in Neverwinter Nights 2, towards the end of the game, you actually have authority over various NPCs. Like, you still serve the king, but you also get a small domain, and it's up to you to decide what are you going to do with your domain, more or less, and how prepared it will be by the time that the inevitable assault by the antagonist starts.
Oh,
And-
there's
Well,
something
they certainly
interesting
did
about
something
the Nuka
interesting.
World thing. It's the only
About
faction
this.
that actually lends you people to fight with you, except for I think the Institute at one point with your little summoning grenades.
Yeah.
Because those raiders will actually fight with you on those Radiant quests there, and you
Yeah,
lead
but-
groups of them.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about assistance in combat. I'm talking about actual, choices that can affect the course of the plot or story or whatever.
Yeah. I think the only time you can actually order a Minuteman in story is when you can tell them to stand down because you're the general of the Minuteman when the Institute is trying to kidnap that guy.
Honestly, though, a lot of the stuff that happens in Nuka World, the Radiant Quest with the Raiders and all that, if there's any one game I can point to that, a shallow example though it may be, it actually does the job quite a bit better. If any of you guys have Xbox Ones or PS4s, track down a copy of Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires. Try playing that and getting some officers on your side and building your empire. It feels a lot more natural than anything Bethesda's put out in Nuka World. And of course, it's not really a shooting gallery. It's a smash buttons to destroy a lot of soldiers, beat them up. But I've been playing Dynasty Warriors since the old days, so still love it.
Back to the list.
Oh yeah, back to the list.
Back to the list.
That's
right. Story of Park is like a shitty Fallout 3 mod, i.e. through notes, holotapes, and terminals. My favorite one. 11 slaves with bomb collars are able to successfully rebel against 3 large raider gangs. If that is the case, then slaves rebelling against the Legion must be a walk in the park.
That's because they have
I would
an
say.
Messiah dead on their side. Don't forget this.
Oh god.
It must be a walk
That's not.
They don't rebel at all, but you have to kill every raider in the entire park for them. A real nice job there, because they will fight you during power play with the rebelling pack. Some of them, they turn hostile for some reason.
I don't think that's the worst diary / terminal entry. I think that honor goes to the orc who was sent to find the best loot there is and collect gore bags.
God, more. Bethesda doesn't know how to do Easter eggs. There's a list of the Easter eggs I wrote. Dark Souls Easter egg, Tarzan / Khal Drago Easter egg, Han Solo Frozen in Carbonite Easter egg, Fallout 2 Easter eggs. Next one. Most of the new monsters are reskinned from base game.
They make fun of that.
Gator Claws are reskinned Death Claws. Also Gator Claws. Really creative, Bethesda. Yeah. Paddleball weapon. Again, why? Weaponized Nuka-Cola. In the Automatron DLC, it showed that you can attach a head to a robot body. But it seems Bethesda conveniently forgot about that in regards to the Nuka-Cola founder. Continuality? What's that?
Of course they'd forget.
Of course. You know how he wants to kill himself and everything? It's like, well, you can put your head in a robot body. There you go. You can walk around and pretty much live close to normal.
I was like, I know this vault in Far
put yourself
Harbor
on a sentry bot.
Where I think you would find a lot of people you knew from the pre-war era. I think they'd love to have you.
Oh yeah.
That would have been
Maybe
a great
call up Mr.
dialogue
House.
option if you'd gone to Vault 21 or not 21, but whatever vault that was.
Whichever vault. Which one are you talking about?
In Far Harbor, you find the vault, which is filled with robots. With
that
Robo
one,
brains.
yeah.
Oh, you mean the ripoff of the Autumn Leaves quest from Fallout New Vegas?
I have not played that one, but probably.
It wouldn't surprise me because Bethesda tends to frame a lot of their taking of other people's work as.
Oh no, the Codex went on a field day about that.
I don't blame him in the least. And
oh yeah,
here's another thing.
Vegas was filled with mods.
Actually, I hate to derail the conversation again, but what we were mentioning earlier in the podcast about mods being on the PlayStation 4. For those of you who are thinking, for those of you who are listening to this podcast who are thinking about getting the Skyrim Special Edition for Xbox One and PS4, I want to remind all of you that the enhancements that you see, like dynamic depth of field, God rays, all of these things that are changes to this game, these are things that modders have made over the last 5 years that Bethesda has not had a single hand in, aside from allowing the tools to make them. This is all done for someone else's work.
And NVIDIA who made all these graphical features working, including shadows and other basic things.
And that's why I decided to boycott Bethesda.
Well, that's the thing, because if you look at the user, I think it's the user terms of service for the GEC, and also the construction kit. Anything that gets made with those bits of software, they are property of Bethesda. That's part of the reason why you're seeing them take so much from the modding community lately, is because they still are operating under that principle that whatever these people make, it doesn't officially belong to them. Partially it does, but not in a copyright sense. And if you've ever got that tickling in the back of your neck that Bethesda's turning into a bit of an underhanded, shady company, that's your proof right there that they
Oh
will
yeah, you
take someone
totally need
else's
to
work and
compensate
make it
the
their
people
own.
that work there.
And it's not just
So-
that. It's not just that. It's the fact that the people who make mods like this, they gladly do so without considering what kind of message it sends to Bethesda and everybody else who follows in their footsteps. That they can release a game in as poor a condition as they have ever since Morrowind, and there's going to be some poor soul out there who's going to be fixing the game for them for years of their life with no compensation. If that's not one of the most disgusting things in game development with the relation between game devs and their community, I don't know what is.
Okay.
But anyway, Ranger, you got any more on that list?
Can we wait?
I'm back.
Can we talk about the Gator claws a bit and the device that creates them?
Sure.
Yes, totally.
I love gator claws. They are adorable.
Why am I not
Okay,
surprised?
I want to talk about the Nuka Gen replicator a bit. Is everyone here familiar with that?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So I realized that Dead Money introduced a lot of new technology that was frankly ridiculously overpowered, but it works in Dead Money because no faction, nobody aside from the courier, and even then in a very limited manner, ever gets their hands on them. Like, you will never see the chip machines. The chip machines used by the NCR. Like, that's just not possible according to what happens in Dead Money. But the Nuka Gen replicator, that's basically creating... It's basically a magical generator of whatever you want.
It's a cloning machine.
It's a magical cloning machine, yeah.
It's a magical cloning machine that allows you to even clone things from pure DNA combinations like the Gator Claw. Like,
it's a quite
why?
advanced replication machine from the Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did Emil or whoever wrote Nuka World think this is a great idea? Because the setting implications are so enormous, and it's treated like a side afterthought.
Because
really
I
is.
think they're running out of
I
ideas.
thought about. Well, cloning technology existed in Fallout 3, if we remember. Gary.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
Gary.
Vault-Tec had access to that.
Gary.
So
That's
so
stupid.
the technology.
That's stupid.
Yeah,
That
but
was
Gary.
Yeah, but with
What,
the
the Gary
Nuka
one?
Gen
That was very
replicator,
stupid. World.
Well, that's the thing with the nuclear thing. That would be an interesting thing to bring up if you wanted to expand on Nuka World there. I mean, if you set it not from gator claws to say cows, that could have a really interesting implications for the setting, and make Nuka World a kind of bread basket or meat basket, so to speak, for the Commonwealth.
But that would require writing skill.
Yeah, like
Oh,
the Nuka Gen replicator is such a massive setting changer because you can basically fix everything, like almost everything. Food, no problem. Water, no issue. Most things that are living, you can make them from scratch. Like super mutants, shoot, go for it.
Gary's. But going on with that point
Gary's.
there,
No fucking Gary's.
with the generator
please.
there, it should be noted that the machine does take a time because it's been set to constantly working for some time now, but it's only created like 26 gator claws in like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, but it was enough to sustain the guy for over 200 years by making food.
True, but that's one guy, so it could be just like the replicator in the gateway to the Sierra Madre, and that it's a very useful thing, but it's not going to be a game changer.
I think that if you hand it to somebody capable like House, like that's basically a source of.
Oh yeah, in case of Fallout 4.
I mean, don't take this the wrong way, Christine, but I'm totally leading NCR to take the Sierra Madre. I don't care what you think. If I was, if I had it, if it existed in universe and wasn't dead within a week.
It just quakes me so much because something as big as this is just casually brought up in a terminal entry.
It's just a MacGuffin to make sure that the guy down there didn't die. From starvation, and of course,
like the kid in the fridge.
Explain the gator clause.
And that's another. I gotta admit that they are really, really loose with the technological advancements of the pre-war and even post-war era there, because we have teleportation in the
sentient robots.
I don't even mind this. I don't mind this. I can buy the sentient robots with sufficient hand waving, but the teleportation just really changes the implications of the setting all around, and it's just like casually thrown out there. I mean, what's time travel?
Well, the problem with teleportation dates back to Old World Blues.
Oh, well, you were right there. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
The one thing that I absolutely hate about World War Blues is that it introduces teleportation.
Yeah, that was really awful.
Well, one thing here. I'm noticing something on the forum since we're talking about DLC. It might be a good idea to bring this in. Would you guys mind if I read off this post from Dirty Old Shoe?
Sure.
Sure thing.
Sure. Shoot.
Sure.
All right, hang on a second. Let me move this window so I can read this thing. He's saying, just to throw this out there, as a modder, the idea of DLC-like or DLC-size mods has been perverted by Fallout 4. In Skyrim, whether you like the game or not, the DLC size suggests hours of gameplay, quests, worlds, characters. Fallout 4's DLC size means approximately 30 minutes of note quests and cell copying, fourth wall breaking, just like the rest of the game. On the plus side, it shows the sad future of Fallout 4's dying modding scene. Soon enough, there will be no heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
I have to agree, because even if I wanted to mod this game, even if I wanted to spend the $30 to get the game, which it's currently on sale for right now on Humble and GMG, if I
there
really
is a
wanted
clear
to spend,
indication of this.
It's an indication of quality and bad design when modders don't want to spend the time to enhance it, because modders
Since
are.
we're talking about mods, because we all really want to talk about mods.
Okay. How about we jump over to that for a bit?
All right.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, a lot of people don't seem to want to. A lot of high-profile modders don't want to seem to mod this game. Some guy 2000, I think, stated that he's not going to mod Fallout 4. Dragbody, who's made a lot of the most popular armor mods for New Vegas, is displeased with Fallout 4 and says that he's going to stay with New Vegas for the foreseeable future.
Well, some guy 2000. I was glad to see him put his foot down and say, "No, I'm not going to mod this game anymore."
Yeah, I am too.
Fallout 4 has failed to attract any modder who is willing to put heart and soul into it, like the same way that, for example, Wesp 5 did for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. He has been patching that game unofficially for years, and he is still doing it to this very day. Or the Restored Content team for KOTOR 2.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think those guys are ever going to listen to this, but just in case you guys do stumble across this and you get to this part, thank you very much for all the work you put in throughout the years. You're a great inspiration for all of us out there.
I've talked with some guy before. I voice acted for one of his mods, and I can tell you straight up that he is one of the nicest and most awesome guys that I've met online. Same with
I thought I recognized your voice.
Yeah, she was in.
That was a good voice acting, actually.
She was in New Vegas Bounties Part 3.
Yeah, I voiced. Lori.
I did play that, yes.
I voiced Lori Thor.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah,
I can't wait to get to that. I can't wait to get to that mod and hear your character. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, it's
Thank
the best.
you for should I say politely, improving the immersion.
If you want me to scream your name, choose that option.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
There's an option that you have. Spoiler alert. In order to kill this guy, you have to make him draw his weapon first, and one of the option is for you to sleep with his favorite whore, which is me, by making her scream your name.
Oh boy.
Oh, good.
I wanted to take a quick moment, guys, and interject on something completely unrelated and say that they finally added Arcanum onto the Steam library.
Oh,
After
awesome.
all this time,
Finally, I
what
love
took them
that.
so long?
That was a
Yeah, I don't know.
that was
you
a
know, it's how
Bethesda
Steam
work.
is.
It
It's
should have had
released
like
for
3 or 4
$5.99
sequels
though.
Oh, you're talking
now.
about
Steampunk gnomes.
you're talking about Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic, right? Are you still there, man? Or
I'm
did your
sure it
microphone
is.
cut off?
Yeah, he was
Troika
talking
game?
about Arcanum by Troika, yes.
That's been on Good Old Games for years. How come it was never on Steam before now?
I don't know what's wrong with Steam. I mean, there's other games too that are kind
I
of
don't know. Maybe it's
missing.
due to the fact that Activision are fucking
Yeah.
slowpokes.
So the
I might
list.
pick it up actually.
And
It's
in
about
fact,
£5
the
now.
list. I thought we were talking more about modding since that's the one that everyone wants to talk about.
No, okay.
Okay.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
fine
no,
by that.
Yeah,
no.
I'm surprised.
Get on the list.
I'm surprised Dragbody is not gonna mod for Fallout 4.
The people. I was just gonna say that the people who made Project Brazil, and I hope that fucking mod comes out soon, 'cause I'm dying to play it.
You and me
They're
both,
not gonna
man.
be modding on Fallout 4. They're not
Well, I
gonna be
think
playing
I
Fallout.
think the reason why the modding scene is dying when it comes to Fallout 4, where there's fewer people putting in the time and effort that they need to make good mods, is because they're starting to realize that Bethesda is not the kind of company that improves their content from game to game. They're the kind that cuts back their content, and that content is restored by the people who spend $30, $40, $60 for their games,
Yeah.
and they put it back in.
Yeah. And
They
then
do
not
the
only
work.
that, but the mods. You mean, for
I actually
instance,
know only
Quest
one
modders. I was just.
community that
I'm just saying that Quest modders themselves are kind of they're kind of screwed over because of the voice protagonist, the lack of skills.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
definitely.
Where are they gonna go?
They don't have the same caliber of freedom to design that we used to have with Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3.
Yeah, there's a
The
lot
voice-
of options for Fallout New Vegas.
Oh yeah, it's especially bad with the simple change of the voice acting and the questions there. That's just automatically reducing your ability to do anything.
Bethesda basically shot themselves in the foot by making
Yeah.
all these changes to
actually
Fallout
the
4
only
that
one community that's still stable about and positive about Fallout 4 is Logos Lab.
What was that? I couldn't quite hear you.
The only mod community I see still kicking is Logos Lab.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Oh,
But,
Because Bethesda can steal from Logos Lab. For
Yeah.
obvious reasons.
You know, honestly, I'm kind of curious if the Fallout 4 modding scene dying the way that it is going to affect their chances at trying to get money from mods again. Honestly, I wouldn't doubt.
Yeah,
for a
I was
second
waiting
that
for
they're
you
gonna
to
try that
mention paid mods.
Oh, that's gonna make a comeback. Oh, and
I'm
off
pretty
topic,
sure it will.
I wouldn't mind if they were willing to pay the people who actually put the effort in the work there for that, but no, it was just a terrible idea.
They're willing to take money from the actual creators, and this is something that we brought up in a couple of podcasts previous, that the fact that they were willing to take money from optimization mods like Sky UI, that just tells you right there that they were never interested in doing QA beyond the bare minimum, because they know their fans will do it for them.
Oh yeah.
I know people won't realize that immediately. They'll realize it subconsciously, but they won't be able to put it into words. At least I don't think.
I'm just tired of people like Angry Joe and other reviewers like Jim Sterling's giving them time after time consecutive passes for the stupid shit that they're known for. It's just, I'm tired of Bethesda's antics. I'm tired of their shitty role playing or lack thereof. I'm tired of their crappy engine, and I'm tired of the fact that they're getting they're doing scummy things that other companies get their hands and feet put into the water for.
Oh, I definitely have criticisms of Bethesda as an organization and a corporate body and their practices. Even if I'm very forgiving of Fallout 4 and the DLC involved.
Yeah. Well,
I think
you can forgive a lot of things about a company, but the thing is, no matter what company it is, there's
I
going to be a
actually
breaking
think
point.
Bethesda are still hanging on that modding
I think
thing.
Bethesda
That's
is
because they
basically.
can't actually change their engine because that will be alienating to their
Well, they're a little bit
community.
they're a little bit too attached to an engine like this, and if they expanded out, I imagine they'd probably find a group of guys who were willing to work in, say, Unreal 3 if they wanted to move the engine over there. Hell, I'd be more than willing to try even Game Maker Studio if they went over to that engine.
They can afford it.
They can. They can afford
They
pretty much any.
They just don't want to lose their modding capabilities, which is the only thing saving them at this. Well, actually, it's not even saving them now.
Yeah.
I think Bethesda are in BioWare's shoes. What do I mean by that? Back until Mass Effect 3, BioWare was forgiven for a lot of shoddy practices, even if they were EA influenced, like Dragon Age 2. Like that was the first BioWare game that made me start to question things, and I think that it will take until something similar to Mass Effect 3 to get people to that point where they are actively so angry that they won't take this anymore from Bethesda.
Well, there's one
to be honest, I think
there's one point that I think
past Mass Effect.
There's one point that I think Bethesda's not quite going to cross, and that's when you who's that loudmouth jackass for BioWare, their PR guy?
Oh, I know you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, the one who's
he's
constantly
not
talking
PR.
about.
No, he's
the one
not
who's
Are you
constantly
talking
talking
about the
about
racist
killing
guy?
white people.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
remember,
god.
Short story on
shit.
that. I was on BioWare's YouTube page on one of their like mini. You know how there's like people on YouTube that you just come across randomly that are like corporate whores that like try to suck like the sustenance off of like bio like games and shit, like just try to get like all buddy with them to get like free money and shit or whatever.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I went across one of their channels, and when people who are sound-minded consumers were talking about this on the YouTube, one of the videos or something about it. I don't know when the shit was really popular and trending. Like there were people, I think maybe they were like they were BioWare fanboys trying to defend what he said, saying that it wasn't racist, it wasn't offensive, this was just all justified because fighting against white supremacy.
Well, the thing is, if it's not what they say it is, then you should. If it's not what they say it is, then you should be able to apply anything to it, and nobody should be offended. And that's when you know that they're full of hot air.
Oh yeah.
Enough so that you could probably tie a string to them and let them hit doors on the way out of buildings.
Oh yeah, BioWare's been doing a cleaning job of their primary artistic talent that also is just really killing my interest in them as a company that I had a great deal of, well, if not loyalty to, willing to cut them the level of slack I've ascribed to many other companies before there. But yeah, Dragon Age Inquisition essentially drove all the people who created Dragon Age away.
Yeah, and then of course
they had artistic talent.
It was someone's D&D game, but it was someone's D&D game that they very much loved and cherished.
I love Dragon Age Origins. It's got to be my favorite fusion of Dungeons and Dragons style gameplay with an RPG where you had a lot of agency. But Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, they do not measure up at all.
That's a thing that I think is the problem with Fallout 4 is you can pretty much cut that game to pieces from the parts that aren't Fallout 3 with other franchises they're trying to imitate.
Yeah, because they took shooting from Rage, but they also weighed it down with numbers, which is a typical thing we had in Fallout 3. Part of the reason why new fans thought the shooting was so bad is because it's an ARPG. It's not a shooter like Stalker.
Well, like Hardcore Gaming actually said, Fallout 4 just lost its identity.
Well,
yes,
Fallout 4 is a loss of identity for the Fallout IP. Let's just be straightforward.
Or just for Bethesda.
You know, it reminds me of those games that have like, I don't know, what the progression systems and shit. That just the
progression system was pretty awful, and also since we're at this point, this is a good time to bring this up. Those who are listening to the podcast right now, No Mutants Allowed is going to be doing a full review of Fallout 4, including the DLC. We're not quite sure when it's going to be out. We have a couple of guys working on it right now. But
yeah, I'm starting soon.
Oh yeah,
glad to have you on board for that one, Haas.
I totally want to hear your thoughts on Nuka World.
We already have, if I remember the list correctly, we actually have 10 people giving their opinions on this game. So if you're looking for a very in-depth and long review, the kind that would probably qualify as a novella, then you're going to be in for quite a treat.
Oh
yeah, apparently the whole
you
thing
can totally
was,
sell that on
like...
Amazon now. I can put you up with my publisher who would probably publish it.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to try and I don't want to take the chance of getting Bethesda on my tail. I've already seen what happens when they and Sega decide to get an ant up their butt.
Don't let the trigger men intimidate you.
They'll sue you for more money than you'll ever be able to get in your life because they're just greedy.
Yeah,
I want $2 billion for this settlement.
Although we could probably publish it under Amazon's. What was that thing they tried for fan fiction writers to get some money in the last year or so? What was it called? I can't remember it for the life of me, but it only lasted for a little bit.
This is something that I'd bring up because this is related to the subject. There actually was a series of novellas that were essentially protracted reviews of famous games, and I'm trying to remember the voice actors for Tiny Tina and Borderlands.
Oh God,
that was Anthony Burke's sister.
Yes, Ashley Burke did a review of all games Metal Gear Solid, that was essentially a novel talking about all the various things she loved and hated about the franchise. She sold this as part of a series.
Ashley Burke was also in Fallout 4.
Yeah, Meanlands too.
You're kidding. Where?
Yep, she's one of the Atom Cats.
No wonder I never knew.
No
wonder I never knew. I never saw the Atom Cats.
The Atom Cats are awesome. They should have been the fifth faction.
No. The fact that one of them is voiced by Ashley Toxic Masculinity Birch makes you want to just grab a shotgun and just go crazy.
I agree
Honestly,
with that.
I think she's enough reason.
And then
she's enough reason. She's enough reason to turn off.
She's not particularly good voice actor.
Wait, what'd you say?
She's enough reason to turn off essential NPCs.
No, I meant Owing.
Okay.
I thought he said something.
She's not a particularly good voice actor either.
No, she
is. Especially Tiny Tina. God damn, stereotypes much? Like seriously.
But since her brother's in the industry and he is a massive cucklord, and
oh yeah, his wife did his wife leave him?
Yeah, no, his wife cucked him for his boss Randy Pitchfork.
Oh my god.
You're kidding.
Wait, is it? Wait,
that is
Randy Pitchfork?
That is such good karmatic blowback.
Did you see that? Did you see that video of him? He was being a total social justice warrior on stage shit, and the people were parodying him. Made a cuck song from it or whatever. So it's
oh yeah.
I need to see that. That sounds awesome.
It's more like Randy Cuckford.
Yeah.
What a fucking loser. He said, I made the Duke franchise, or I own the Duke franchise, whatever. I was like, wow.
No, you don't. 3D Realms made Duke what he is. You just were lucky enough to get your hands on it, and you're probably going to butcher his character after this.
The Borderlands is the only successful franchise that Gearbox has. Without it, they're
more
done.
like Borderlands.
It's kind of sad that Telltale does a better job with him than.
Man, I just can't believe it. His wife cucked him and then left.
Yeah,
like, seriously, after that, you probably just put your head in the sand.
Another good part is that after his wife cucked him, he went around saying that he's a bisexual because no woman wants to sleep with him.
What a liar.
What a loser. Well, hey, I mean, clearly you're not gonna.
This conversation has gone in an odd direction.
So, Fallout.
These conversations always tend to
go. So, Nuka World.
We were talking about the something about combat and gameplay, right? And
no,
it kind of reminded me.
We were talking about mods.
Well, someone made a glancing comment about it, and it couldn't be that bad. I mean, remember in Oblivion that shitty ass combat scaling system?
That was awful.
Imagine putting the combat on the max difficulty. You do literally no damage and you get one hit killed.
Even is it even on like a little past normal? I'm guessing it would have been like you still are dealing with or not bullet sponges, but like like health sponges and shit. Like you're hitting them and you're constantly hitting them. They hit you a few times, you're fucked.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
it's a sign of the
magic
times.
of.
It's a sign of the times that if this is the measure by which difficulty is gauged, that is how much damage you do versus how much the enemies do to you. Then
it tells you how inspired they were to actually give a fuck about difficulty. I mean, you couldn't just put like enemy numbers, maybe raise their head a little bit, but there's like different enemy tactics and shit. No, couldn't possibly do that. Our engine doesn't support it anymore.
I'm not so sure, but only aspect Fallout 4 improved in this tedious combat is the actual feel of the gun. It's slightly more, I don't know, convenient to use.
But
yeah. If there's one thing that bugged me about the combat, it's the fact that skills are gone. Because there's one thing, like I said, I love to do when it comes to Bethesda games like this is I like to play either a sniper or an assassin, and both of these guys require one-shot kills from a distance. So I'm usually going to be using whatever weapon I'm favored in, or I'm going to be using a rifle and looking for headshots. New Vegas let me do that because I could focus on small guns or small arms and get myself a good rifle skill pretty early on, but with Fallout 4, I have to invest in the rifleman perk if I want to use a two-handed weapon competently against higher level enemies without having to craft, or at some point I'm just going to have to craft the best receiver I possibly can with the best buffs I possibly can and have those perks active to even stand a chance. And then my whole gameplay style goes out the window.
And even then, you will rarely get one-shot kills. It's just
I feel like
because
the games
the entire time, and I hate sniper rifles in Fallout. They're very good for a specific play style, but I've always been just a straight rifleman, and that just was not an option.
Well,
because
I prefer being one shot. I prefer being one shot, one kill. It's the kind of thing I've loved since many of the early FPSs that I used to play.
Oh yeah.
Just having a steady hand is a big help there, but also it relies on the fact that you're standing enough distance away that you can make the shot and still have enough time maybe to get off a second shot at someone else running toward you before you have to switch to your close range weapons.
Since we are discussing about weapons, we could address the new weapons introduced in Nuka World.
I just want to say
I have one positive actually about weapons.
Okay. Ranger, why don't you go first, and O-Wing, I'll let you go next.
Alright, I just want to say one more thing about how awesome and kind some guy is that back when he was developing the Better Angels, I suggested to him that he add in Rodney the Friendly Mantis. That was from Al Chestbreach's video of his walkthrough of New Vegas Bounties 3, and he credited me on his mod page for inspiring his appearance.
Oh, that's
cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, if we're gonna make if we're gonna just do random occurrences, I also would like to say fuck Riot and fuck League of Legends.
Okay, I'll run with that.
Moving on.
Alright, the weapons. You guys want to discuss the weapons?
This won't be good.
Thirst Zapper, I love it.
Of course you do.
Yes, because
is there even a squirt gun?
Because first of all, you get to use the squirt gun to take down a power armored raider boss who stupidly thinks he's got a better grasp of electrical engineering than the U.S. military, and because that's a kind of glaring flaw that I love seeing in Fallout, because I do love mad science that just totally ignores great improbabilities. That's why I love World War Blues.
What if you're playing the woman who's a lawyer?
And you could just shoot the wires in the top of the power armor or something.
Why do you use a squirt gun? That's so stupid.
The thing is,
because you eventually fill it with quantum and it becomes an atomic bomb blaster.
That's so stupid.
That is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Just throw a bottle at him.
Ridiculous, and that's why it's fun.
Degenerate to come up with that ridiculousness.
Well, the thing is, let's look at it this way. The overboss fight is incredibly stupid the way it's framed, because if you're talking about an electrical grid like this, if you get even a little touch of water on your skin or enough to make it arc back to the person inside the suit, they're going to be fried, and that thing's going to go nuclear within 2 seconds. The water gun should have destroyed him within 2 seconds, and even then, a rocket launcher to the face, it's going to destroy that armor. Electricity is not an everything-proof shield like a playground boy's every-proof shield. It's not. You should have been able to destroy this guy many other ways besides just pointing a squirt gun at him.
Well,
the thing is,
your choices are bad.
Get shot in the head, you can also just stim pack yourself. So there's some allowances to non-realism in the game.
I suppose,
but that's not the case.
As if that was very realistic that somebody would want to go and fight somebody else with a squirt gun.
Well,
Here you go, I'm going to fight you with a squirt gun.
The squirt gun is just to lower his shields.
Wanna what should have happened? Is that the squirt
That sounds
gun
like something from Mass Effect 2 with that one boss where you have to do something with I'm trying to think. It was like you were like lowering a shield stage or whatever and then taking them on.
Yeah, that happens with a lot
of
You're
thinking of
that's
the
what it
Shadow
seems
Broker.
like.
Actually,
Yeah, that's what it was.
Reminds me of a boss battle in Dead
that,
Rising
but I know you
2.
had to. But I know you had to get them down and then attack them and shit. Or like, I know there's a lot of other games I've done that too. It just seems uninspired.
I'm gonna say
lazy.
I think the problem with Nuka World in particular is that power armor just doesn't work that way.
No.
No,
Yeah,
it was never a vehicle type. It was never a vehicle type of thing. Well, granted, when you're lugging around 150 pounds worth of steel and hydraulics, it's gonna be heavy for you to move. But that's the big reason why you have servos and hydraulics, all these things that handle the moving of heavy materials for you. But it still works as just a general all-purpose armor. And then the fact that it breaks down and parts break off so easily. What does that tell you about how well maintained they may have been pre-war versus post-war?
I don't know if like pieces of armor just fall off like paper mache. I mean, it'd be surprising people want to continue using that shit.
Well, I mean, you kill like dozens of people in power armor in Fallout 3, and but I actually thought the power armor of 4 was one of the few improvements they made because it harkened back more to this stuff is some serious shit from the original game.
Yeah, that's why they give it to you in the first half hour
please
of the game.
ask the question.
I mean, I must have killed like 40 Enclave guys with armor using just a straight rifle. So obviously they're treating it as something different than paper mache, while something that can actually be damaged and need to be repaired, I felt was one of the least lore-breaking things of Fallout 4.
I would have been okay if there was like bullet
disagree with
shit or something.
Why they
along the
introduce
lines, damage,
power armor training?
Just falling off like paper mache is just ridiculous.
Well,
I mean, I can understand
Barry
damage.
at least already has power armor training. I'm not sure if he taught his wife during their vacations in the park. Oh, this is how you get.
No,
Everybody secretly
I'm
knows how to
saying
use
that
power armor. It
how
just doesn't matter.
how the inventory system
Owing.
works, the loot system works in Fallout 3. They had to introduce the power armor training so that you can't just get more armor too
otherwise
early.
you'd get it the first time you ran into Lion's Pride. But Owing, you were trying to say something a second ago?
I strongly disagree with this about least war-breaking moments, since how should you put a soldier inside advanced power armor from Fallout 2? I mean...
Yeah, if you just look at the size of the fingers for power armor like this, it looks like you wouldn't even be able to get your finger to the trigger if you were using something with a trigger guard. But here's another thing. Here's another two things.
It just works.
Yeah. There's
Aren't
another
there like
two things that I
really
think.
small gloves on the power armor? Because when they show the power armor diagram there, the gloves are really, really tiny to the rest of the blocky body.
I suppose. Although, here's a couple of things that I'm pretty sure most of you guys in this podcast have missed since New Vegas. One is the availability of special ammo that you can switch out at any time that you please. And the other one is damage threshold versus damage resistance. The damage threshold that actually cuts off damage at a certain point, and then damage resistance cuts off a little bit of the effectiveness of what's left. And if the threshold isn't breached, you'll only get a fraction of the damage that you normally would. You need something powerful to cut through armor like power armor, like armor-piercing ammo, or in some cases EMP rounds. You need these things to get through power armor, and just having straight damage resistance with numbers that climb past 600, that doesn't feel right.
No, it
Numbers
becomes...
that go past
and the actual
really?
think about...
I believe so, yeah. If you get some of the highest tier XO1 armor, it eclipses easily 400. I think 600 is as high as it goes.
isn't that kind of reminiscent of like the smithing in Skyrim, where you could smith your shit with that alchemy?
Yeah, you can use alchemy to enchant and improve your smithing skill or your spellcrafting skill. And if that's buffed, it allows you to excessively buff the armor and weapons you create.
I remember, in Skyrim with like the smithing, you could use you can create a potion with alchemy to smith stuff even better condition or whatever. That's what it kind of reminds me of. And then you get to the point where you smith it so well that you're not even taking that much damage.
You smith it so well that your damage starts cresting into the 10,000s and beyond.
Oh yeah,
that has been in the game since
you
the
can
very
really
beginning,
just
though.
utterly break
At least
the
then
game.
you can wear whatever armor you want. And the game's already broken by default. There's nothing really
That's
you can do
that's a
about
complaint I have about Nuka World is that the Nuka Girl armor is not actually that good, because I totally wanted to put my companions in that, and you just can't ballistic weave it until it's completely invincible, despite the fact it's a Halloween costume.
That circles it back around into that circles it back around into mods again, because one of my old roommates who bought the season pass for Fallout 3 for Fallout 4 before it went up in price. One of my old roommates, he bought the season pass before it went up in price, and one of the things he was sad about is he's the kind of guy who likes the old style gangster look with somebody in a suit with a Tommy gun. What he was disappointed with was that he never got the chance to mod the tuxedo that he found to make it to give it some kind of armor plating so he could wear it and be like a gangster. So we had to download a mod to allow him to do it when the mods became available for Xbox One. So
the problem with that is it should have been, I don't know, it's not the best choice, but somewhat similar to like Morrowind, where they had like the unarmored route,
the layered
skill.
They also had layered armor, so if you wanted to wear clothing underneath armor, you could do just that. You can't do that with a tuxedo.
That's one of the things.
I mean, with that and unarmored skill or something, that probably would have helped solve it, rather than having to mod some armor to be able to do something like that.
It's why I got the damage toughness perks, just so I can wear whatever I want.
It's
because having flat damage resistance early is a nice help. But
I can't believe they put up a clunky ass system like this.
I can't. Wow. I mean, when haven't they done something like this since Oblivion?
No, I was expecting them to only have like 3 or 4 skills in the game, and just like a whole bunch of all the attributes in there.
I would have just totally gone with Fallout 3's and New Vegas's previous things. There wasn't anything wrong with this system, and they changed it completely.
Yeah, and then of course one of my favorite reviewers, Razor Fist, he mentioned this in his review of it the month after Fallout 4 came out. It's that you merge skills with perks, essentially doubling their size, and then give us 1 pity point per level. I mean, by the time I feel even moderately adept at my chosen profession, my character's wearing white shoes and wearing 401k options in Boca Raton. And he was playing a sneak character. He had to wait until about level 22 to even get the 3rd level of the sneak perk.
I always find sneaking in Bethesda games because it's so broken that it's like...
Yeah, you get like a bonus damage based on your sneaking.
Well, not only that, the AI is mentally retarded. Like, it's funny just sitting there sneaking around while there's just
it's not the best in Skyrim.
Oh my god, it is.
Oh, and Fallout 4,
absolutely fucking
just
retarded.
for clarification here.
Just
for clarification here, the sneak perks in Fallout 4, they're actually separated into 2. The ninja perk is what allows you to get extra damage based on a critical hit when unseen, and the sneaking one actually affects your chances of being seen, so you actually have to invest in 2 perks to get the same effect as building 1 skill in the previous game. How stupid is that?
What were they thinking, like, honestly?
The lockpicking
they weren't
skill
thinking
was
at all.
impossible.
They were trying to innovate by making something overly
because...
convoluted, duct taped together, and super glued in an
Yeah.
attempt to try to do something different from. Yeah, pretty much trying to do something different. And by different, I mean something no one with any amount of fucking sanity in their mind would ever perform in entire lives.
Yeah. It's not the worst stealth system that I've ever had the displeasure of playing.
No, not at all.
I think that's like one of the worst. The Fallout 4 is like one of the worst games I've ever had the displeasure of playing, let alone looking at.
after.
Well, the problem
with
stealth in a Bethesda game is, I think what they were trying to do was they were trying to do something on the level of either Deus Ex or Thief. But the thing is, when you're talking about sneaking in a role-playing game where you have dice rolls in the background, there's always going to be that chance that the dice roll is just simply going to screw you and you're going to get caught. So if you go into it with the mindset that you're going to play it like Thief or like System Shock or like Hitman, you're going to be disappointed. And I think that's what they were trying to go for, was remove that.
Well, with Thief, I don't think with Thief, I don't think anybody's going to be able to top that. I mean,
Thief, not even with Garrett's tattoos.
Just the way, like, the sound propagation and shit.
Hold on, I feel the need to interject and say, fuck Eidos Montreal for Thief. The remake.
Yes.
The one
very
of the
much
worst
so for
games.
For Christ's sake.
They
couldn't even get...
That was
even worse than... As you people feel about Fallout 4, I feel about that Thief game.
That's how I feel about that Thief game, too. And to be honest, I can't believe they didn't get Stephen Russell in that.
Well, the funny thing is, he was actually
hired, it was absolutely ridiculous. At least he's going to be in Dishonored 2.
He was working for Bethesda at the time, if you remember, because he voices Codsworth.
He also voices,
if they were
with Skyrim, he also voiced a couple
I'm sorry
of
to say
that
that him not being Garrett is just like one of the myriad flaws of that clusterfuck.
I couldn't stand the voice actor for the new Garrett for that new Thief game. I just
be glad Stephen Russell isn't involved in that.
Well,
I don't think his career would be able to handle such a train wreck.
Well, they gave him such poor dialogue at the same time.
Then again, he's in this train wreck, so I mean.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
It's basically like that's the real thing with the Thief game is it's like if they fought with Bethesda and everyone saying that they stole too much from the original games and put them on the capital. Yeah, they did the same thing with Thief, except they didn't bother to put anything from the actual games in it except Garrett.
Which is about the only things I had in common.
All right, since we should get back on topic.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
All right.
Nuka World is awesome.
No, it's not. Nuka World.
No.
Nuka World's a giant steaming pile.
I'm currently traveling around the Far Harbor in my Nuka World power armor, and that's just so beautiful. I'm advertising.
Jeez.
For God's sake, your brain and whole psyche must be taking one hell of a beating in the process of that.
I literally I gave up Coca-Cola for years, and I'm now once more addicted to it because of this DLC.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Rest in peace, Ron Perlman, who has been relegated to a shitty news anchor instead of his rightful place as narrator.
You know, I'm pretty sure that he probably wouldn't want to be associated at all with this, so he's probably trying to keep it to a minimum. He's just probably trying to keep it to a minimum. I would too. You know, being associated with this would be a fucking train wreck. So you were a part of Fallout 4, voice acting, minor role. Let's just keep that on the down low.
Well, also, if you guys remember, who was the guy who did Sam Fisher for the first 5 Splinter Cell games? What was his name? Michael Ironside.
Yeah.
He actually wanted to distance himself from the series after Chaos Theory. Because he saw the way that it was going after Double Agent, but they kept him on for Conviction, and then they switched him out with a completely new guy for Splinter Cell Blacklist. Which, okay game though it is, I honestly hate that new voice actor. He's terrible at playing the role of Sam Fisher.
There's also what happened with David Hayter, who felt really kind of discarded for Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
I'm in a box.
I mean, they could have at least found one role for him in that game there, just
he could have been like, you know, a young Solid Snake or whatever.
Could have.
I mean, no, of course there was only Liquid.
He could have done the voice at the end for Big Boss or something.
That game really matches some of them for abrupt endings.
So the only thing the game had going for
it, the fact that the entire third
had
chapter was never done, and you can only see it with the special edition of the game. That was pretty disgusting.
Hey, cool for you.
Yeah.
I think the only thing it had going for it was gameplay. I mean, the gameplay
right,
was
so
good,
back to the topic.
Yeah, back to
we are really getting distracted.
That's all right. Yeah.
Please finish your list, and I promise I won't interrupt, or I will try not to.
All right, and Nuka World's a big steaming pile of shit. Anyway,
hoorah!
Instead of dealing with another settlement needs our help, it's now another settlement needs to be raided.
Or you could just say another settlement needs robbed.
Yeah. Dialogue is awful. Voice acting is grating. There are grammatical errors. Nice job checking up on that, Bethesda, for a DLC you're charging $20 for.
Hey, that was like that since Skyrim.
Yeah. The entire DLC can be summed up as, for some reason, you're made the boss after killing the previous boss. For some reason. Traps and death traps seem to be either inspired or ripped off from some guy's 2000s death traps in his mods. DLC is a reskin of the vanilla settlement feature. Characters are one-dimensional. New guns are reskin of vanilla. Fallout 4's grand finale is for the player to destroy every single settlement they have built and micromanage. Yeah, great one. That's a good one.
That sounds real
Bethesda.
inspired.
Oh yeah. Oh, and you're gonna love this. Idea for DLC. Who's making the noise in the background?
I think it's CT.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't. Must be my breathing or whatever.
Yeah, we're picking it up pretty
intense breathing.
I apologize.
It sounds like a way.
It's getting tense.
I apologize for whatever you want to associate with that with me. There.
You should have just done the Darth Vader. Honestly, you should have just done that.
When you haven't loaded Nuka World for 5 minutes and.
But anyway.
I apologize. I was walking around while doing this. I'm just gonna sit down now.
All right.
All right.
Idea for DLC was inspired by cosplays of Fallout 3 raiders. I'm not joking with that.
That's kind of surprising. I would have never figured that.
Oh yeah, it is.
They even talk about it in the first trailer, like the who
they
was
were
she?
advertising it.
Yeah, they were very open about the fact that the moment they saw the cosplays, they were inspired to make the Raiders and Nuka World.
Well, at least do DLC give the ability for more people
I'd like
to
to see
do more
the cosplay they drew from, because that strikes me as interesting. I mean, who was doing what?
A lot of what the problem with DLC is makes you ask a lot of questions, but most of the questions you don't expect to be answered.
Yeah, it's the whole DLC really feels like a wasted opportunity, because even with the walkthrough that I watched, it looks like all 5 areas are pretty much just fetch quests, main quests.
That's what I said about them being base. See, that's what I said about them being told like a Fallout from a Fallout 3 quest mod, because many of the mods for quest mods for Fallout 3 are note quests.
Yeah, go here, find this, learn something, go back, look for more, or turn quest in. That's
actually there's 2 more.
Wow, that sounds like so much fun.
We're right about it starting with a lot of for some reason thing.
Oh yeah, the entire DLC can be summed up as for some reason.
And like you were saying, go ahead.
Like you're made the boss of three factions for some reason, and all that. Yeah, and all that, and
on and on and on.
Oh yeah, they weaponized Nuka Cola for some reason. God.
Because a face full of soda is somehow lethal.
Yep.
Hey,
it's not the soda that'll kill you; it's the radiation.
Hey, I'm saying.
Why is Nuka Cola even irradiated anyway? It wasn't like that in the first 2 games.
Maybe it's pasteurized.
It's a different type of radioactive isotope that allows.
It's a different way
to
save it for 200 years.
Yeah, remember when Nuka Cola used
radiation
blue?
for 200
Remember when
years?
Nuka Cola was blue and
the
now it's
pasteurized.
Yeah, well, the way they describe it is I guess you could call it a semi-safe isotope in quantum that causes it to glow blue. But according to notes that you find, it'll make your pee glow for about a week or more.
Oh yeah,
that's not a scary.
And the guy
thought,
who found that out was given a new car and a reassurance they would look into it.
Oh boy.
Which is exactly how it works in the real world.
But Ranger, did you have anything else to add?
Oh yeah, there's still a few more.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, shallow storyline. Most new monsters are reskinned from base game. many of the achievements you must grind for. Like there's this achievement with an arcade. I think you have to get like 10,000 points in order to get the achievement, and it's like nearly impossible.
Jeez.
Oh no, 100,000 points.
That reminds. Do you guys remember the? Do you guys remember the Dead Rising achievement in the first Dead Rising game, where you have to kill a number of zombies equivalent to the population of Willamette?
Oh my god.
Can you imagine how long it would take to do that?
I got that achievement, and it took me 6 hours of continually running over zombies with a car in the basement.
Okay. So it's not as hard as it seems. It's just you really, really, really have to game the system to get it.
Or you can
absolutely.
get a contraption with arcades and grind your points. Okay.
This is actually a story that's against Nuka World, but very clever. Someone set up the basketball court thing you get from Nuka World, which can actually give you tickets. And the Contraptions DLC to create a conveyor belt to continually put baskets into the machine one after the other in order to grind the Nuka World achievement, and it still took him hours upon hours to do it.
Well, are achievements even necessary in an RPG?
No,
they're like little quirks, pretty much.
Oh,
in Deus Ex,
I think they are
can change your gameplay
for consoles, and in that
They
respect,
shall stroke
because
your ego.
I actually had to turn off all of my mods for Xbox, which kind of defeats the entire purpose of me being so excited for them, because I just didn't want.
You don't have to. Actually, there's a mod that you can download that puts the achievements back in, even if you have mods.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, I was so annoyed. I lost the only mod I truly loved, which was the Nuka-Cola Pip-Boy, which I couldn't use in the Nuka-Cola place because it would prevent me from getting any of my mods. And it's interesting enough that the 100,000 ticket achievement, aside from that, there's none of the things you grind for are actually very good when you're supposed to be getting theme merchandise as a present from the Nuka-Cola factory.
Yeah.
So the loot is very unevenly applied, and this is weirdly in a setting where you have a Nuka-Cola themed power armor, which again I love.
Well, it seems like the kind of achievement for the obsessive compulsive types.
Oh yeah. And I do admit there was a bit of laziness with the quantum Nuka-Cola armor, because you could have chosen just about any other armor to put it in there, but you had to choose the enclaves.
Yeah,
that was just lazy.
It smacks of disrespect for the franchise and the lore, the kind of things that were written many years before Bethesda got their hands on it, and this is the kind of thing that galls me as a writer. Even if you get somebody else,
that's not even the case. The case is Bethesda made these changes. They just make no sense. These changes.
Yeah, they changed things on a whim.
At least it's like sorry.
They just act. I'm a big boy now.
No, it's not just that. It just feels like they're trying to retroactively rewrite the lore to their liking. They're trying to remake it.
It's like the New 52 in
I think
DC.
they're just like Trump and just don't care.
Well, to be fair, they
Whatever
treat all
just
their
fits
games
right
like
now.
this. Look at the Elder Scrolls. That thing has been retconned to shit more than anything,
Yes,
except
but
Fallout, probably.
They have a lore reason for
Elder
that.
Scrolls has gotten a lot of weird retcons ever since Michael Kirkbride left the team.
And it's bad too, and should.
I'm okay with soft retcons, which is if you're going to change something fundamental about the setting, or big or small, I will be willing to go with you to a certain extent, but you at least have to bother to sit down and explain it.
Yeah, if you can't be bothered to explain why you're making the changes that you are, especially if you're making hard changes to canon, then that's going to make people raise their eyebrows and question what exactly you're doing.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no reason for T60 power armor to exist, or God forbid the Enclave Quantum but at least throw out a hand wave of some kind to at least show you give some shits.
They don't. The problem is with Bethesda is that they're trying to remake the lore, and at the same time they're going around saying our lore is better than theirs.
Yeah, They
Well,
used to
I'll
do,
say
they
this
used to do
much.
this obsessively. With they at least did it in Skyrim. Everything had a justification, no matter how small and stupid or smart.
It feels
And
like
here,
Bethesda's.
no.
It feels like Bethesda's in a one-way manliness weighting contest with Obsidian.
Yeah, they don't. Obsidian may not ever get the chance to make another Fallout. So
that's the thing that does strike me there. Do we really think? I don't know if I quite buy the whole idea that Bethesda is having a hissy fit on artistic sensibilities there, because I thought you would think with the level of greed and general sleaze they've displayed, the corporate overlords would go, we don't care as long as we're making money off these games. But here, it seems like some weird hybrid place between we care but not enough.
Well,
it's hard to say.
We care, but not about you.
Yeah, and none of us are involved in the company, so all we can really offer is conjecture on this point. But at the same time, I mean, if we just have to look at the way Bethesda's been treating the mod community, been treating their customers who they made promises to, and then come to find out, lo and behold, it's a lie the whole time, and they can't deliver on those promises.
I'm just waiting for
it's one of those
Bethesda
things.
to be...
If it's not incompetence, it is malicious intent. It's got to be one or the other.
I'm just waiting for Bethesda to become the Games Workshop of video games.
Oh boy, that would be bad.
Because they're already on the path.
They may end up going that way if the next game turns out to be just bare bones and meant for modders.
The settlement system is basically the mod problem in a nutshell, is where they are essentially trying to make the gamer make the game for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ripped off.
They sell them the assets and everything and tell them to create the game.
Yeah, I mean, like that's my biggest problem with Fallout 4 as a whole is that I was willing to go give them a lot of slack for Fallout 4, and I overall enjoyed it, but I gotta say, the huge chunks of it, the Commonwealth, are all but uninhabited. Just because they're supposed to be settlements, and that's an excuse to be lazy, because just slap a farm there, okay, you can build whatever you want and do it 11, 12 times.
Oh, well, a bunch of ideas went to Bethesda's head of how they can get away with everything once the mods like Wasteland Defense and Tundra Defense are made for New Vegas and Skyrim. They're like, wow, these gamers can make their own settlements. We don't have to put work into anything. This is great.
Yeah, that's
I have a feeling at this rate, the way the games from Bethesda are going, I feel like the next one is going to have they're gonna have 2,000 different keywords that you can use, and you're supposed to put together sentences for NPCs, and you're supposed to make the quest together. So you have all these keywords, and you put together, they stole my yada yada yada, things like that.
They're gonna make an over-glorified version of RPG Maker.
Yeah, so
Radiant Quest
take
or
all the
something?
keywords, and then you put the keywords together, and they even have sound files to go with all of that.
Okay,
With the same 4 voice
So you're
actors.
saying that they would get the community to make Radiant Quests for them?
Pretty much. That's the next logical step, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh God,
no,
I
I'm
put
talking
that
about
past
all the
them there,
quests.
but
I'm talking about all of them. They'll probably sit there, make you craft it all. They have preset NPCs, and then you have to put they have a total. We have a total of 3,000 keywords that you could choose from to put together sentences in order to make your own game.
Oh, they're gonna sell a build-a-game workshop.
Yeah.
Fallout
If it does,
tying back to Nuka World for a second there, that actually, I think that's part of the reason why Nuka World felt like a breath of fresh air to at least some extent, was because there were actually buildings and creations and basically a visual place to wander through and explore, rather than the same old giant swamp that is the Commonwealth.
Yeah,
You're still killing things at the end, so it's pretty much still the same old with killing things.
Although,
the biggest wall of
It's
Nuka
a shooting
World.
gallery.
I mean,
It's a shooting gallery, but it's a shooting gallery in a zoo. It's a shooting gallery at Space Mountain.
It's still a shooting gallery. It doesn't matter.
I mean, at the end
Well,
of
if
the
you like
day,
shooting
I
galleries,
agree
that's
with
not a bad
Ranger Brew.
thing.
It's still the same. It's pretty much the same at the end of the day, just different scenery. You could be shooting on a mountain, but you're shooting on a mountain. You could be shooting inside of a house, you're still shooting inside of a house.
Yes, but if you like shooting and you like houses and mountains, that's a thing there.
But the problem is
at the end of the day, it's the same. There's no different.
That's why I buy
Lips,
sequels.
I really hope that you, in your own writing, you have certainly a higher quality standard than that.
Oh yes,
I have
oh
to agree.
don't get me wrong. There, I could and probably could write 6 or 7 different drafts of Nuka World, which is much better. No small
Everyone
pride.
could accept
Yeah,
email.
I know.
The problem is,
Actually,
it's just a fresh breath of
I
dengue
spot
air.
a lot of writing holes, which they could have really put in a very interesting expansion or quest line or follow up on what they've established here,
interesting.
but
That's
they
the
don't.
hard part.
And the thing is,
Everyone
even if
could
we
but email.
even if we wanted to challenge ourselves to write a better story for Nuka World, at the end of the day, we would essentially be doing Bethesda's work for them.
I mean,
We'd
even a
essentially
high
be
school
re-
fan fiction writer could
It's
do a
like
better
more-
job of it than Emil could.
Yeah.
It's what
Oh,
Bethesda actually
Dragonborn
wanted
did.
us to.
Dragonborn was blasé.
Oh. That
Dragonborn
strikes
was the
up.
best story ever.
You can tell when Bethesda stopped caring because it's like, okay, let's decorate this island like Morrowind and then write the most barest bones plot we can.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped caring since Skyrim, to be fair.
But I really like I really like
stopped caring since Morrowind, actually.
Dawnguard. That was actually an enjoyable DLC.
Somebody cares.
Dawnguard was only enjoyable.
Dawnguard was kind of okay in my opinion.
I don't know. I just thought as the vampire was the Mary Sue kind of.
Hey, I will say this though, Snake.
Well,
and that
she's
is
a
that
vampire Kent Beckinsale. Of course, you want to marry her.
Snake, I would say this though, is that Dawnguard was better than fucking Dragonborn, with fucking Mirak being a fucking Marty Sue.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, I find
is
if
a
I had
giant
to choose,
loser
I
in
would.
universe, and no one seems to realize this.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
seriously.
Yeah,
they even put
Alduin, but I didn't.
that tentacle porn nonsense in there.
Oh, speaking of
like
which,
he got
there is a-
tentacle porn raped and turned into it's just and the
you know
voice
what?
actor to
Hermaeus
Mora
Moya
was
is now
absolutely
Cthulhu, and I'm like, you sir are no Cthulhu. I know Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Like I swear to God,
one,
the voice actor
one last-
for Hermaeus Mora, I swear to God, that tore my eardrums out and stepped on him and put him back in my ears again. Terrible.
Well, one last thing about Dragonborn. There's one. No, not Dragonborn. Dawnguard. Sorry. This is the caliber of blasé that Bethesda's DLCs are, because I keep getting their freaking names mixed up. Anyway, Dawnguard I had some hope for until I bumped into the Vampire Lord, and I was playing as a werewolf at the time, and he doesn't immediately kick you out for recognizing what you are. He gives you the ability to just simply wipe that disease out and switch what type of monster you are right there on the spot.
Yeah,
You'd
like
think
no
it-
consequences
That's
for the
fucking
action.
magical. Like, holy shit. I mean, I understand it's magic in the universe, but holy fuck,
Oblivion,
man. That's
in Oblivion, they kind of did the same thing with DLC, where if you became a vampire, instead of going through that like really rigorous and arduous process of getting rid of vampirism, you just buy this DLC and you're cured.
Yeah, it's with the vile lair, I think.
To be honest.
Oh.
I think they made it worse.
The vile lair will let you become a vampire or let you cure yourself of vampirism pretty much instantly.
Oh.
Yeah, no consequence for the action.
Oh, off topic. Mercenary. There is a tentacle rape mod on Lover's Lab.
Oh, really?
Because of course there is.
Because of course there is.
That reminds me.
Yeah.
I also seen there's like a horse sex mod.
Because
for Fallout.
Okay, I think we should go back to the topic.
There's
even have...
one thing that I do think is good about Nuka World's plot line, which it just goes to show that they had been underdoing it in the main game, because it's conspicuous by its appearance, in that you can pretty much get through the majority of Nuka World just by talking your way through it. And
no, you can't. What do you mean by that? It's complete radiant quests.
No,
and
you
shoot 'em
can't. You
ups.
have to clear.
Can you
clearing the
disband all of
territories and
could you
you get to Oswald, you can talk him down. You get to Cedo, you can talk him down. You can talk all the various communities into voluntarily handing over their land and paying them off.
You can.
And you can just basically do this.
Make them all,
No, you can't really. I
can
mean,
you
you
make
can't
all the
talk
factions turn down
the
completely
Oswald.
and disband and everything or
Oswald
not?
down, but
You can talk out maps like zombies, gather calls, and. But
And also, there's no good guy option for this mod. Well, there is, but it's only 20 minutes.
Hey, why would you want
I
a
think
good
you
guy
can play the
option?
good guy mod
Choices
just
are
by
overrated.
being the peaceful raider. I mean, you're just buying the
No,
land.
there's no
no such
stupid.
thing.
I
Oh,
think
come
that
now. You just
think
need
that
the land to
needs...
go to feed your empire of wealth and
What
power
if you
there.
don't want to be a raider in that DLC? You're forced to. You're shoehorned into it. That's BS.
I
Yeah,
think
If
that
it
for an
wasn't a
RPG, there isn't very
DLC, you
much
wouldn't be
choice
doing.
in that
I wouldn't be
DLC, to
doing
be
that
completely honest.
when I think about it. I mean,
Well,
you're
the,
just trying to get your
one
money's
thing I was
worth.
getting
We're
at
doing
is
that.
I do think that raiders are a fundamental part of what I love about Fallout. And while they were going out of business in Fallout 2, there, I do think they are something that needs expanding on and incorporation into each new installment of Fallout.
If they're gonna do it, then they need to quit making them like these generic raiders. Do something like the cons or something. Try to be more creative with it instead of sitting here adding generic raiders that like killing things because
hang on a
it's
sec,
funny.
Mercenary. If one thing here, let's see, for the review that we're working on, and I know Ranger and Mercenary, you brought this up a couple of times. If Bethesda was really trying to ape New Vegas with Fallout 4, what makes you think that they weren't trying to ape the Khans, the Jackals, and the Vipers when it came to the 3 raider groups that you get the chance to lord over in this DLC?
Oh my god, that's a good point.
It could have just been an extension of that.
Oh, I think the operators are meant to be. It wouldn't be those Khans, Jackals, and Vipers specifically, but definitely there are some definite influences of the archetypes because you have the operators as the mercenary cap associate, the classy tops ones, and from the New Vegas, people like the Omertas, and you have the cannibal, crazy psycho
White
raiders.
Glove Society.
Oh, geez, the White Gloves.
The disciples basically being the all-female, almost all-female fiends, and then
they could have done something really interesting and funny with that.
Oh yeah, and the pack just comes off as just the wacky wayside tribals that have some weird traditions that make no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Can I talk about Oswald for a while?
Sure.
I mean, you said that CT basically said that you can talk him down. I mean, yes, that's true, but you have to basically kill him first, and he just teleports away.
Well, you have to beat him that first time there, but in the second encounter you have with him after he's run away, that is when you get to talk him down, admittedly. But that is there are a lot of speech checks there for these kind of things.
That he wouldn't die from that.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is the talking him down. You only talk him down from holding the position that he has in the park. You can't further talk him down from the idea of looking for his girlfriend, which is something that he says he wants to do.
You can find a tape that proves that his girlfriend is dead.
Oh, really?
There's a holotape, yeah, because her body is like is hidden in the park, where she basically the whole cure quest was something she made up so he wouldn't look for her as she went to commit suicide.
Oh, okay. Because, like I said, I haven't played Nuka World. I've only watched a couple of walkthroughs. Neither one of them found that holotape, so that's news to me.
There's 2 ways of ending the thing. You can talk him down. It's like, okay, I'll go look for my girlfriend out there and try and find her. But if you have the holotape with her, you can play it for him, and he basically breaks down. It's like, oh, why didn't she do that? And just has a little emotional scene, thanks you, and leaves to go look for a cure himself and try and deal and see if he has to put down his ghoul friends.
Fair enough. All right. I'm glad to know that's at least an option in there, because it reminds me of some of the things from New Vegas, at least in some ways.
Yeah, Oswald is definitely the best written of these things there. Though, weirdly enough, I actually enjoyed Cito. I just think they took him way, way too far.
It's a little bit too heavy-handed with the Tarzan
Gorillas, fucking Harambe.
Yeah, I mean, they could have dialed it down about half, and it would have been just fine as a silly little homage. I mean, it's not like we don't know any crazy people dressed as superheroes or savage tribal kind of people.
Yeah, sheesh. But then again, I'm not surprised that they borrowed Tarzan for this sort of thing, because that's a man being raised by apes. I mean, what else could you possibly think of? George of the Jungle.
They could have.
It would have been nice if they had him instead raised either by animatronics or robots. Then you could at least tie it back to the main game.
They could have just made him a goddamn, just another skeleton joke. I mean, that I wouldn't have minded. That would have been funny, but yeah. I mean, they just wanted to.
Oh yeah, I mean, that could have been fun. Or if you wanted to tie, actually, God forbid, and I'm criticizing a game I love here, given death to the raider groups, maybe he's a runaway from the pack.
That's not a bad idea.
I mean, they've said that the pack has kicked out 2 of their leaders, and that Mason had them either killed or tried to have them killed. So, maybe that he was just one of the previous pack leaders, and he's hiding out in the safari.
No, because you find in a note detailing the deaths of his parents.
Oh, no, I'm saying that's not where they went with that, but it's like they could have done many things other than he's a child that was raised for some reason 200 years later in Nuka World by zombie-fied gorillas.
Sorry, I'm getting.
Well, the holotape idea about how his parents were killed. I mean, if you look back, even on the Disney interpretation of Tarzan, that was what happened to him. His folks were killed.
Oh yeah.
The gorillas found him and raised him.
Yeah, there's it's kind of funny there because I know a little bit about Tarzan. Even Edgar Rice Burroughs eventually retconned away the gorilla origin because he thought it was stupid.
Sorry for that.
They turned out to be Neanderthals.
I'm getting really tired. It's almost it's 30 minutes away from 1 a.m. over here.
I'm sorry.
Sorry for keeping you up so late, man.
It's fine.
I really enjoyed your conversations.
All right, me too. I'm sure a lot of us did.
But wait, how did he get a rocket sledgehammer?
Dude, I'm just gonna say right here now, though, Fallout's future is pretty bleak. I really don't think the next Fallout game. I think it'll be the worst Fallout game ever. If Fallout 4 wasn't.
Well, Fallout 4 is going to be the low standard for quite a while, and if something comes out that is better, it's just going to stay that way.
Well, that boils down to why the main thing I liked about Nuka World was that at least it had a sense of whimsy, humor, and design ambition. Because the problem with Fallout 4 boiled down to that there was no sense of ambition. It seemed like the bare minimum they could do in that game.
What ambition? Nuka World felt like Skyrim. It felt like, we have.
It was a post-apocalyptic Disneyland. That's awesome. It's where I would go after the apocalypse.
No, but listen, they could have done something really interesting. They had an interesting concept, but instead they took the same route they did with Skyrim. That was, they half-assed it because they didn't want to put any work into it and were lazy.
I think.
Well, Nuka World is essentially Fallout 4's half-assed attempt, I would say, of trying to mimic Dead Money. Because Dead Money takes place in a very similar type of place to Nuka World.
I don't think
it's just in a Plaza Village. Plaza Village, like a holiday resort.
I think that's stretching comparisons there. I mean, but there is a lot of work going in Nuka World, but it's weirdly not in the plotting or storyline because, the whole thing with the fake space mountain in the Galactic Zone, that's almost like the if you've actually seen the construction and insides of Disneyland, that's almost 1-for-1 actually the ride with plenty of what it looks like on Turned On or Not.
Well, you can't fault Bethesda for their world design. That's one of the few things they're good at.
Yeah,
I think that Bethesda prioritizes coming up with a location first, then they try to write something for the location. That's why we have such a lackluster quest line or story.
Well, the Raiders definitely feel like
Final Fantasy. Kind of like Final Fantasy these days. If you guys remember interviews with some of the creative team of Square Enix, they come up with the characters first and then come up with the plot second.
Oh yeah, well that's and that is another. This is just me bringing up another point that's really a weird, very specific homage to Disney World. The Nuka-Cola bottling plant. That's actually there actually is a river ride in Epcot Center where you go through an artificial film studio chronicling Walt Disney's life and career.
Oh, neat.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. And it has that exact same voice where there's like, and these are the people that do the real magic in Disney and so on there. So again, very specific homages that I think probably would not be appreciated by most Nuka World residents or players.
Possibly.
And one last thing, I do agree that this does seem like they came up with two separate concepts. Like, people wanted to do Raiders, so let's do a Raider DLC, and someone else wanted to do Disneyland, so they just combined them.
Makes sense. Ranger, what were you trying to say?
Oh, I should finish up the list. We're almost done.
Okay.
I'd say that the biggest issue with Nuka World is that Bethesda was self-aware about their actions. They intentionally made this DLC as lackluster as they should because they saw their "I'm a big boy now" attitude.
It's possible.
Just make them refuse to listen to the fans, so they just half-assed it.
I'm a real RPG now.
I have one last thing I have to say there, because I think the programmers themselves are thinking they're half-assing it, because in the Galactic Zone, in the battle zone, Robeco battle zone, you can find terminals where they have this extensive terminal conversation where the programmers say, okay, the crowds are hating the battle zone. Why is that? Because all of our robots are just remakes of existing Protectrons and Sentry bots and iBots.
Well, also, there was a thread on the forums that we can probably tie this right into it. The Hubris Comics is Bethesda becoming self-aware on this.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I remember seeing that when I came across it in Fallout 3, and I was just like, "Oh fuck you."
Yeah, it's like all of these robots are just the same things we're just doing normal. We're just slapping a new name and a coat of paint on them. And I'm like,
I don't think the Hubris Comics thing is a self-aware parody at all, because remember what the definition is for hubris. The hubris it's essentially high regard for oneself in spite of the facts otherwise. So they could just be doing the same thing as Mike the Liar in Elder Scrolls, and essentially making fun of fans who demand quality out of them. And frame their arguments in such certain ways.
How dare they ask for quality?
Yeah. On the other hand, I don't necessarily think the designers at Bethesda are necessarily the guilty parties, because when you watch them on television, you can tell they have just been battered down by the corporate culture. They look like, if I think they were sympathizing with anyone in Nuka World, it would probably be the traders with slave collars.
Well, it's hard to tell. Again, none of us have worked with Bethesda or know anybody who actually worked there. But
apparently, according to reviews, a lot of people were saying, well, people who worked at Bethesda, they rated it really low.
I'm not surprised.
Oh yeah. The games industry is full of horror stories, though. I mean, that you would not believe there's this great 16-page document on the Homefront game design, and just how it was living hell from beginning to end, and right after they were all fired immediately afterward.
Are you talking about the first Homefront or the Revolution?
Essentially, there was a sequel which talked about this. It was about the first one, but the sequel, it turns out, they just got a whole brand new staff and just did the exact same thing.
the guys who ironically did Time Splitters, Dambuster Studios.
Huh.
That was a division of. Actually, Dambuster Studios is just a new name for the guys who were the guys who made Time Splitters. I can't remember that company name for the life of me.
Well, I believe you.
But yeah, it actually is an unlock in Homefront: The Revolution. You can unlock the original Time Splitters.
Oh, cool.
So if anybody's thinking of getting Homefront: The Revolution, then that's your incentive right there. It's not too bad of a game, but don't go into it expecting a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
So the list.
At the very least, it's worth it for Time Splitters, but you're going to have to work at it to get it. Let's see. Otherwise, is that the entire list, Ranger?
Oh no, I got a few more.
Okay.
Quests are repetitive, like in base game. More forced settlement building. Bethesda still doesn't know how to do boss fights. Once again, the Silver Shroud costume has more continuity than anything else in Fallout 4.
That freaking thing, my god.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, you shut your mouth. The Silver Shroud is awesome.
Oh,
and
the Silver Shroud is so stupid.
The Shroud annoys the hell out of me.
You sure you're not all...
It's the only time the player character emotes.
Yeah, I have to agree with that at least. It's the only time the character actually emotes, but then again, they just play it. They play it so over the top, like you're not supposed to take it down. Like you're not supposed to take it seriously.
You can't be the Shadow and be over top. That's the one area that they lucked out in, because you can't parody the Shadow. But anything that's that crazy, he will probably say.
I don't think the Shroud sections would be received as poorly as they are by the people present here. if they weren't voice acted.
Well, just in case anybody's wondering what we're talking about when we refer to the Shadow, it's actually an old radio drama that used to be on radios back in the 60s and 70s. I think it was. Might have been earlier than that, but I can't remember when.
It was originally in the 1930s, actually.
Oh man, I'm really going.
Well,
for
it was a long-lasting
time.
franchise, but Batman eventually replaced the Shadow.
That explains it. Still, I need to start looking for a few more of those old Shadow recordings. I've only listened to one so far, and I loved it.
Yeah. But going with that, it's interesting because Dry Rock Gulch is what it was called. Is actually has two kind of Silver Shroud options. There's the put on the Silver Shroud costume and just go through that as the Silver Shroud, but you can also spend the entire time talking like a fake old time Western gunslinger.
Oh yeah, because of course it's Old West town. Being able to ham it up that way would make sense.
Oh yes, yeah, I do admit that was definitely meant to evoke some kind of new Vegas nostalgia there, especially with the equipment and costumes.
Shame they never gave you access to an 1851 Smith Action Army or Bolt Action Army. That would have been wonderful.
Oh yeah, I do admit I there's just while the quests were ridiculously evil in Dry Rock Gulch, they were also kind of just brought a little smile to my face, because when one quest is just like leave out these Nuka-Cola wilds for the dead skeletons who were supposed to be actors, and wrangling inert giddy-up buttercups.
I remember that.
I totally want a giddy-up buttercup you can ride in a game sometime. Before Fallout completely comes out. I want the rideable giddy-up buttercup.
It's a $10,000 robotic horse.
Oh, that's like $5 in uninflated dollars.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, there's one more, and this is the last one, and that is this is Nuka World's cardinal sin, and that is this DLC is in the same universe as Fallout New Vegas and its DLCs.
Yeah, that's pretty depressing.
Ooh. Oh.
But it makes you wonder if the no man's land that divides the west and the east coast actually really is that. Just some place that
quality and crap.
I wouldn't say so, because if Fallout New Orleans is actually a thing, then we might actually see something in the middle of the United States.
That's a weird choice there, because I would have thought they would have kept with the divide between the coasts.
Hey, the South needs some loving too.
Everyone is doing New Orleans now, though, which is kind of odd. There, it's going to be the center for Red Dead Redemption 2 and Mafia 3.
Is this confirmed?
Yeah,
about New Orleans.
Well, also, when Chris was on our podcast previously, he mentioned that New Orleans was the place that he wanted to see for a new Fallout setting. I'm voting for Texas, honestly.
I love Texas.
That's my home state, and I really, really, really want to see a Fallout game or some kind of open world game take place around Houston. I would love that. I would love to see that.
I'm sure that would have definite appeal, though. If I were going to do a Fallout, for that I would go with either one of the cities from and just essentially refocus from the original Fallout 2 games, like the Boneyard or the Hub, or set it in Seattle.
I would love a Fallout game in Seattle. That's where I'm from.
How about one in Ohio?
Sounds
am I
intriguing.
Right, mercenary?
Someplace in the Midwest.
Because if you want to do something new, the Pacific Northwest and a radioactive forest.
The Pacific Northwest has a lot of stuff. We have the Lewis McChord Air Force Base, which is the largest military base on the West Coast. We have Boeing. We have the Hanford Nuclear Dump Site. All kinds of places that you can do.
And you can
I was going to say,
recognizable landmarks.
Am I the only one who played Fallout 1 and 2 and got really annoyed whenever the AI would get 2 or more turns and they would always fucking crit you?
Yes, I hated that.
Your companions hate you. That's just the real story behind all that.
No, I didn't normally get critted, but when I did, it really
I mean,
that really hit hard, man.
It's just like you would be playing Fallout 1 until you get in combat, right? And then the AI would get 2 turns before you get your first.
Oh
yeah,
that's
I've had those problems.
That's a nasty bug.
Oh yeah.
I didn't get hit with the crit often, but when I did, man, that hit like a force of 1,000 suns, dude.
Yeah, especially when you're fighting the death claws in Fallout 1.
Oh yeah, I was wondering why those guys were getting 2 attacks on me after closing quite a considerable distance on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those death claws are no joke even in power armor either.
So, anything else we got left to cover on the Nuka World DLC itself?
Yeah, I don't think there's much left to add. Like, we've more or less touched upon every single aspect of that DLC, and by extension Fallout 4.
I think the only thing left
with one exception. The AK was pretty awesomely modeled and
the
animated.
AK, was that a 47 or?
That was actually what I wanted to say right now. That the one fucking weapon that they actually call handmade rifle is the one that looks most like an actually produced, professionally made rifle, and the one that looks like a real rifle. Why? That was just stupid and unnecessary.
Well, I think
at least it's a guide that's enjoyable.
Yeah, the only thing I would have left to talk about would be the Sierra's quest and the Grantchester Mystery Mansion.
Yeah, one thing I mean, when I got the quest, I was like, okay, yeah, that's nice. So you get clues, and then you have to find the stuff, but then you just get a lot of quest markers that just end 40 meters from your target, and then you have to just look. So that was meh.
Well,
could have been.
That's the most disappointing part of that. That's the most disappointing part of Sierra's quest. Is what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to look around Nuka World for these little cappy images, and they all have some kind of piece of a code that will allow you to get into a secret area of Nuka World. Which again, spoiler warning, boot, put it on mute. When you go inside this area, you'll actually find the severed but still alive head of the guy who made Nuka-Cola, still alive 210 years after the bomb spell, and that's when you get the quest for Sierra, and also from Nuka-Cola's creator to either kill him or keep him alive.
Oh yeah.
You keep him alive, you get the suit that Sierra gives you. If you choose to kill him, you get some of the special weaponry and ammo that he's had stored underneath Nuka World ever since
the original formula for Nuka-Cola.
Yep. A lot of old world treasures.
Oh yeah. I gotta say that the whole thing with the finding Cappies, I'd like to mention, is another Disney reference, because there's hidden Mickeys all throughout Disney World.
Yeah, I've heard about those.
Yeah, yeah, but the thing with that is, I found that quest to be extremely tedious in the finding element. But what was really thing with Sierra, I did think that had a little emotional punch than it probably should have, because urban legend homage or not, there you're dealing with a character I remember very fondly from Fallout 3 coming back, and it was one of my criticisms of Fallout 4 that there wasn't nearly enough references to Fallout 3. So seeing her was a real boost, and you just got her enthusiasm. This was once a magical place for children, even though you have other characters putting it down constantly.
The problem is she's an obnoxious, lobotomized twit.
Well, when I bumped into her in Fallout 3, it made me wonder, how exactly has this person learned so much about what Nuka-Cola was 200 years after the Great War, 200 years after most records would have been wiped away.
Not to mention, she comes off as a woman who should be in a psych ward.
Oh, yeah, come now. Who doesn't love Nuka-Cola every bit as much as she does?
Explorer.
I built, the only thing I got out of the settlement system that I enjoyed was I turned my Red Rocket mansion into a Nuka-Cola museum.
There's only so much you
Seriously,
can do.
Red Rocket? My god.
There's only so much you can do with the fucking product placements. It's just... God damn it.
It's disgusting.
It is.
Yeah. Well, look at it this way. It's nowhere near as bad as the product placement was in POS, and we all know what that was.
Oh, piece of shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a piece of shit.
Just in case those of you who are listening to the podcast who don't know about this, the POS that we're talking about, I'm not going to call it by name. You'll be able to find it if you look up Fallout games on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, though. But the advertisements for Nuka-Cola that would have been in a game like this, in a Fallout game, they replaced it with advertisements for Balls Guarana, which is a real-world drink, an energy drink.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why whenever you hear Fallout fans talk about bad product placement, that's one example that we use, is Balls Guarana instead of Nuka-Cola.
And Piece of Shit was the game that pretty much put the nail in the coffin for Van Buren.
Exactly, because it sold so poorly, it was so badly made. Glitchy as hell, too. And
it also had made no sense from
the game.
Well, this is also part of the reason why when Chris was here, I can't really put words in his mouth. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think this is what he meant when he said that Black Isles, when he said he felt like the only organ alive in a body that was slowly dying. This is probably what he meant.
I still think that POS is the biggest inspiration for Fallout 4 and Nuka World.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised, because let's look at it this way: what POS is, it's essentially Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance with the Fallout.
It's a twin-stick shooter.
Yeah, exactly.
Baldur's Gate was
standard twin-stick shooter.
Yeah,
it's so poor, it's actually quite funny.
It's it was so similar to another Interplay product, which was that Baldur's Gate game, which strangely I played back in the day. I actually enjoyed it, but that was before I actually got my hands on Baldur's Gate, the first and second games, and actually sat down and played them and enjoyed them so much more. I understood why people hated them so much. At least the Dark Alliance games, anyway. And then you see POS, and you understand, wow, Interplay, what were you doing for those first 4 years of the new millennium?
But didn't they get bought by the same people who did Superman 64?
Yep.
Did they?
Yep.
Yeah, Titus.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Same people.
They were that low on the rung that they could get bought by Titus?
Damn.
I think it's why Brian Fogger left.
You know what I feel like doing right now? I feel like playing that clip of Titus from Final Fantasy X going,
Oh, dear.
I still think for the next interview podcast we should invite Herb Kane.
Random aside.
Timothy Kane? Hell yeah, I'd love to have him on here.
Oh, well, God. Well, he is the beating heart and god of Fallout, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. But it's hard to bring up Fallout without mentioning the inspiration that he was to creating the entire idea.
Yes, if anyone could do awesome Raiders, it would be him.
Yeah, it makes me wonder though, what exactly has he been doing for the last 5 years? I've barely heard anything out of him besides.
He's become the main programmer at Obsidian.
I thought it was in Exile.
Well, good for him. I hope.
Well, if he is working for In Exile, that would explain why I loved Wasteland 2 so much, because it really has a lot of the Fallout heart to it.
The ending I thought was pretty much the lift was not. Well, I don't mean to say lifted because you can't lift from your own work.
Don't spoil it if you can. I was going to say it there,
but there's let me speak in the narrative. There were a lot of elements that I recognized in Wasteland 2 that I felt were originally in Van Buren.
You know, that's not a bad observation. If Van Buren may have died in 2004 with the demo that we managed to get with the demo that No Mutants Allowed managed to get, but maybe its spirit lives on in Wasteland 2. Who knows?
And New Vegas.
Oh yeah,
and that's why Van Buren would be turned to shit, actually.
So, you mean the next topic to jump to?
If I had one last thing to say about Nuka World was, I felt that it really did have a lot of borrowed whimsy from things like Disneyland and the idea of artificial happiness. And I do love Raiders, and it gave me a sense of really, and I had a whole bunch of fun playing it. But I also understand why so many players who don't want to engage with this world just weren't able to, because it led you down a very specific path, and if you didn't want to follow it, there just wasn't much to do.
Yeah. If nothing else, Nuka World represents the kind of game or the kind of expansion that is typical of Bethesda. The kind that if you spend even 5 minutes just looking at it yourself, even as a new Fallout fan, you can see things that they missed, opportunities that they missed, which could have made the DLC so much more than it was, and would have justified the $20 price tag for it. But
it's very interesting because if you think about it chronologically, Bethesda's last DLC before Fallout 4 was released was Dragonborn, and I don't remember any side quests or main quests aside from maybe one.
Oh no,
in that entire DLC. In that entire DLC that has more than one path to choose from start to finish.
Yeah.
Like I remember all of them, with one exception maybe, being linear.
You can side with I think at one point you can side with the nice, friendly Eskimo people or a bunch of evil goblins that hate you.
That's about it.
Yeah,
but that's
it.
But that's about it. That's all the role playing you get in that DLC. But I would say this though, and that is from what I've seen from Bethesda, their final DLCs for their game seem to indicate the direction that they're heading. I mean, look at Dragonborn. It was linear as all hell. Fallout 4. Fallout 4. Linear as all hell and dull.
The kind of things that typify a bad dungeon master when they don't plan for the players making a choice that goes outside of what they wanted.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that if you're somebody who even plays tabletop games, not even regularly but sparingly, if you have a dungeon master who's not that good with what they do, who doesn't know how to improvise, who doesn't know how to make things up on the fly, that's essentially what Bethesda is. They're a dungeon master that doesn't like choice for their players. They'll give them some, but the leash only goes so far, and when that point's reached, you better start pulling back and going back the way they want.
But yeah, overall, my opinion of Nuka World was I felt at least some of the Fallout magic come back because of the fact it was a ambitious, good-looking set and a place I wanted to explore rather than the very swampy, repetitive, recycled Capital Wasteland. And I did think there was a sense of genuine joy seeing older characters like Sierra come back and the chance to be a raider, but the freedom is not there at all, even if you except in the one small way that you can play the good raider or the bad raider rather than whether or not to be a raider at all.
Yeah. Well, Fallout 3 itself, I mean, we got our first whiff of what was going to potentially happen when that game came out, and the DLCs just continued to confirm our opinions. And then of course New Vegas came out. The series sat in stasis for almost 4 years, and now it's back again. But it looks like the series is being brought down I guess you could call it a revised and streamlined path versus a enhanced and built upon path. And that's what a lot of folks hate when series move developers or when series progress. Like myself, I personally hate Hitman Absolution with a passion, mostly because I saw what blood money allowed you to do with the worlds and settings that it gave you. You had so many options, and then you get to Hitman Absolution, you're led straight down a path for most of the game, and maybe at 4 or 5 times at most do you have open assassination missions where you can choose to kill your targets as you please. But then we get to the new Hitman, the new one that's coming out right now. That one allows many different options, so maybe Bethesda's going to go down a similar route where they realize the mistakes they've made and start correcting themselves. Because after this, there's no way to go but up. If they go down, then it truly shows that they have become a company that's not worth supporting anymore.
The only thing that gives me hope
Why
on this
should
respect,
they care, actually?
Well,
they're making money.
In a sense, yeah.
That's all they have to do.
The game actually doesn't matter to them as much as fan devotion and merchandising, I would say. And you only have to look around on ThinkGeek or places like that to see all the merchandise that they sell with the Fallout and Elder Scrolls logo on it. That probably brings them in maybe a quarter of the money that the games do. The games are just the catalyst for everything that follow. So as long as their fans don't raise too much of a fuss, they'll just keep doing what they're doing.
For Christmas, I'm getting a Pip-Boy for my Android. Or whatever.
That little Pip-Boy thing.
Yeah.
That's such a scam.
Recommendation, man. I wouldn't spend my money on that. I would just get one laser printer made, or get one 3D printer made.
Okay.
You can customize it yourself, and if you use sturdy enough plastic, it's gonna make a much better Pip-Boy than the one that Bethesda sold.
You got it.
I'm saying this as somebody who paid attention to the post-release of Fallout 4. Some of the guys that I watched, like even Alpha Omega Sin, he made mention of this at one point that the Pip-Boys were actually not of very high quality. So what you were paying for was essentially a plastic shell.
Of course it is. People paying premium and they're only giving them shit.
Well, at least the Skyrim DLC. The direct. You first, Haas. Sorry.
Oh, just saying Bethesda half-assing something. What a surprise!
Yeah.
The only thing that gives me hope on this. Oh, go. You want to go ahead?
Sure. I'll say this much: the Skyrim Special Edition, I managed to snag a copy of it for $90. But I think it was like 9 months after it came out because I didn't want to open my physical copy. I was doing other stuff for college at the time, so I couldn't play the game. At least the dragon statue that came with the Skyrim Special Edition, that kind of was worth it, at least for the $90 that I spent to get the game with it. That Pip-Boy thing, unless yeah, the Alduin statue.
Oh, no, I was talking about the Pip-Boy, the overglorified iPad holder.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the application's even for Windows phones, so I can actually use it with my Lumia.
I've actually seen people make better 3D printed ones and shit.
Yeah, that's why I recommended the 3D one.
I will definitely take that advice there.
As far as I remember,
all I was going to say was the only thing that
it looked like it was better quality and shit.
Bigger phones.
What were you saying, O-Wing?
I heard just that default Pip-Boy can hold bigger phones and tablets.
Yeah, it can't hold phones bigger than the 5 3/4 inch one. So if you have an iPhone 6, you're kind of SOL. It won't hold it.
Oh well.
And even worse, the silicone rubber that your phone is supposed to go into, you have to cut it out yourself.
Ugh.
Yeah, so it's just one thing after another with this.
Well, screw that.
Alright, well, it looks like we've reached the end of the Fallout discussion, and
which
it's
means
1 a.m.
that we touched on the no mods for PlayStation 4 thing a while ago and several times too. I don't think anything more needs to be said on that besides the fact that this is a clear broken promise by Bethesda. They promised that mods would be available for one of these consoles, and yet they're not going to deliver. The fanboys are going to continue to blame Sony for this when it's actually Bethesda's fault for making this claim in the first place before they had confirmation that they could deliver. So, I don't know what else to add on that. Although, maybe one of
that
you guys
one certain YouTuber. Just blame that one certain YouTuber for like riling up the fans with false hope. That I think we all know.
Possibly. Although,
yes, the last DLC.
Let's see. Actually, since Fallout 4 is completely wrapped up, we were touching on lore screw-ups earlier. Let's, you guys want to...
The entire game is a lore screw-up.
The entire game is literally an abortion.
Okay, never mind. That'll wrap that up then.
I think I was, like I said, just to throw my last thoughts on there, I don't mind necessarily the continuity being changed in small ways or tweaked, even though I know that's heresy around here, but I do think that they could have devoted even a bare minimum of effort of explanations to these things, and they just didn't.
Yeah. Although
they could have done all the stuff they added, or at least a lot of stuff they did. They could have done it in a non-law breaking manner, but they didn't because they just don't give a shit. I think it's as simple as that. They just don't care.
Well, it's also very easy to write off opinions of fans like us as nostalgia all sorts of other things like this, where they could easily just write it off and ignore it. The sign of a bad developer, no question. Although since Fallout 4 has come to an end, I don't think we can really continue discussion on this game for much longer. So, what about the future of this podcast? What do you guys think we should do from this point forward?
We still have stuff to talk about. I mean, after all, we got the Skyrim.
Not about Fallout 4 though.
Yeah,
we could just talk about games in general.
Yeah,
things that what's going on with games lately. Things get microtransactions. We can trash them, let other people know.
Recently.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, we got Skyrim remastered. We got Tyranny. We got the upcoming abortion. That's gonna be Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah.
Speaking about Mass Effect Andromeda, do you think
the
Mass Effect Andromeda? Apparently, they're recycling the same plot from Borderlands with the vaults.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, because they couldn't think of anything creative.
Yeah, it's really strange there because the games just really seem to be cross-pollinating nowadays. And I really believe Borderlands was based basically on let's do Fallout in space.
Yeah,
that's
really what it feels like. Is when you actually look at this, Pandora could very well be considered the West Coast if it had a little bit more of a futuristic sci-fi feel to it.
I mean, they've got the Raiders. Everything is made of scrap.
Only problem is, you would wonder how everyone's able to procreate due to the fact that almost everyone, due to Anthony Birch's amazing writing, is gay.
Yeah. Well, also there's.
Hey, man! It's a prison planet. You just learn to adapt.
You know what's funny?
It doesn't.
Throw
it's
any
not gay if
plausibility
it's on
out of the
Pandora.
window.
That's all I'm saying.
You know what's funny? My youngest brother, he's gay, and I talked about this with him several times. I'm like, how do you feel about when people, like in the game industry, whatever, or in Hollywood, pander to you? And he says that he absolutely did. He's like, it's great that there's gay characters, but yet they, instead of making them feel like organic and, normal and everything, like in Fallout New Vegas, they just put a fucking red flag around them saying, look, this character's gay. This character's gay. Aren't we so progressive and awesome? Look how awesome we are.
Or just don't make a shit about relationships like Bethesda.
Oh yeah.
Well,
are there gay people in Bethesda games? Because they seem to be hanging really behind on there, aside from the bisexual option being default.
Well, yeah, bisexual is default because it's the power.
Yeah, that wasn't really a bisexual option, just lack of writing.
Well, that's why the polygamy option is there, probably too.
I guess,
God.
yeah. But
no, I don't think Bethesda's trying to do it to be progressive or anything like that. I think they're just doing it because
it's lazy programming, honestly.
You gotta be able to screw around with anybody that you feel like, regardless of the gender you are.
Yep,
yeah,
exactly.
It seems like lazy programming to me, because it seems like something that you could easily stop with a switch trigger or something like that.
It's exactly it is.
Dragon Age Inquisition actually got a bunch of shit from the fans who love the romances there, and they are huge on their forums because there was because they made characters bi or gay or straight, just like in real life.
That's something the Codex constantly makes fun of.
Oh yes, and it's like and the fangirls and the fanboys were like, but I can't romance the character I want. Why did you do this?
Oh yeah, I was about to get into that.
Tough. That's how life is. Although,
yes, it's like
actually social justice warrior nonsense.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting.
Oh, I'm a social justice assassin, proudly.
Yeah, actually, here's an interesting bit of
right
news for all of you who are interested in BioWare's forums. They don't have them anymore.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah,
they shut them down.
They shut down Bethesda's forums as well and removed them to their new place, and that just killed the community there. I mean, before I was a member of MMA, I was a regular poster there, and we had just the same arguments here, a slightly little better on Bethesda's part, but now the whole lore forums and the community is just destroyed.
Yeah, I remember.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I remember the thread for on the Codex whenever people were talking about that was talking about the Tally Sweat thread.
Oh boy!
Oh god! I was a fan of BioWare when that whole thing happened, and I unfortunately initially got on the train because I thought it would be cool to have her as a love interest, and then things got creepy and weird.
I think it's hilarious
like these
how they
people
were
were obsessed with having their romance with the girl that they can never see the face of.
Yeah, and the fact that her sweat enhances your sexual abilities.
And of course,
I did not need to know that.
Let's not forget the fact that they swiped Tali's picture from somebody who pays.
Photoshopped
it.
From some, they photoshopped
Stock
it from
footage,
some,
yeah.
That's just
the place
embarrassing.
I got one of my book covers from is the place they got Tally's face.
Oh boy,
that's really bad. They didn't have any inspiration or anything for it. Just slapped it
together.
together.
It was just
Anyway, I bid you all.
Well, I got to get going, guys. But it was really good talking with you all.
Yes, I talked to you too. Hold on, just in case you want, if you want to know, because you said that you heard my voice before. I voiced several other mods too. Saxon's Quest Collection, Jokerines, Boom to the Moon, and Strangers Abroad.
Cool, thank you. I will look those up.
All right.
Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure having you too.
I will now go to the place which has all the zip of Nuka Cola.
All right.
Yeah.
Catch you later, Phipps.
See you later, dude.
Catch you later.
See ya.
Bye.
It's nice meeting you.
Nice you too.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And it's down just to 8 of us.
What 4 members is he?
Yeah, but I'll also leave
He's
very soon.
Well,
yeah,
I must thank you all.
He's one of our new bloods.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I must thank you all for letting me
past midnight here too, so.
I thank you all for letting me on this edition of the anime podcast. I'm getting off because it's 1:11 a.m. and I'm tired.
Oh, actually, before you guys head out, one thing I want to do for you all before you leave, and this I intended to do this on the first podcast. In fact, I made specific mention of this, but the fact that I couldn't do it because I didn't have the enthusiasm. Well, I think I've found it now that Fallout 4 is over. So, if you guys don't mind, I think a little bit of Ron Perlman into the very last part of this podcast would be nice. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is going to be coming from me. It's something that I wrote last night while I was thinking about it. So, I guess this might be a nice way to round out the podcast, just to see how well this works. So, give me a minute, give me a second to work my voice, and then I'll let you guys go off for the night.
All right.
And so it was that the wanderers returned to the world they left behind nearly 1 year previous, with the records of their travels slung over their shoulders, written onto their journals, and scarred into the flesh under their clothes. The familiar walls of the trading hub were a welcome relief of both the physical and the world's weight on them all. The journey had been long, and the value of what they had learned was not set in stone. It was, however, a measured collection of reminders that the world they'd heard only stories about before the journey was just a taste of the chaos that could have been brewing many hundreds of miles beyond the points they'd reached. A taste of the reasons why war never changes.
Nice.
Beautiful, man.
That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good.
All right. So with that, I believe we're going to wrap up this particular podcast. And the 2 members that we had on here previously who just left, that was CT Phillips and no, Captain J, you're still here. Who was the other guy who left earlier?
He actually left, Captain J.
Okay, so I'm thinking of things incorrectly. That was CJ Phillips and Captain J, who recently left. So for round 6 of the NMA podcast, I'm Agent VJ09.
I'm Ranger Boo.
I'm Mercenary Snake.
I'm Fuck Hillary, our TBD on the forums.
I'm FF Jamie 94 or Millib on the phone.
I'm Asknecht.
And I'm Zero Wing.
And with that, sorry, Django, you go next.
No. I'm just a
little tired. All right. In that case, we'll catch you guys on the next podcast, or maybe if we feel the need to try it, we might end up doing a rock band session together, but that might be a dream for another day.
Rock band?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously?
Who knows? It's just an idea. We'll work on it later. So, for now, we'll catch you all later.